All right, we're live. Welcome everybody to another live stream. We got a lot to talk about this week, and I say we shouldn't waste too much time. We should get into it. Let's just do our own little intro things, and here's the panel. You know me, so here's the panel.
Hey guys, it's me, Eric, and back at it again. We're talking. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. We have a lot to talk about today. A lot of announcements, even just like in the last 24 hours. There's been 2 or 3 pretty significant announcements and things to talk about. So I'm excited to get ready. Hope you guys are ready in the chat, because later on we'll get to answer some of your questions. We'd be interested to hear what you guys think about stuff as we go through it. So thanks for being here.
Hey guys, it's DannyBTalks here. I'm in the stream, and I'm gonna try to be, I'm gonna be active and stuff. But I'm doing a lot in the background here. So if you notice, if it looks like I'm like moving my eyes around, not paying too much attention, it's because I'm working on a lot of things I've been working on for this week's video. This one's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah, I know I'm a NASCAR channel, and we're gonna keep it mostly NASCAR related. But I'm taking a step to the left here to talk about what's basically on my shirt here. A little bit of the WWE. We had WrestleMania, so I'm working on that for this weekend's video for me. But we'll be back to NASCAR, obviously, by next week. Basically, I'm going to talk about WWE after the big pay-per-view events. They happen, like once a month, so it's not going to be a big deal. We're mostly NASCAR related, though. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going to be doing something very exciting. I get to go over to Bristol Motor Speedway and drive 5 laps in my Ford Ranger, so that's going to be pretty fun. But with all this being said, let's get back into the stream here, throw it over to the other two, and let's talk about what happened to Texas this week.
Yeah, and like Jacob, I can't pronounce your last name, said, lick that like button. Lick it. And so let's review Texas. I was saying before to you guys, and I think a lot of people will agree, that had you told me that Texas would be a better race than Martinsville, I would have thought you were crazy. Like, that was probably, other than Daytona, probably the best race of the year.
I think as a whole, I would agree. I'm trying to, I would say, Atlanta and Las Vegas were okay races, kind of ruined by Harvick dominating the whole way. Phoenix was pretty decent, but yeah, Texas, probably second best behind Daytona. Had a little bit of everything, had some wrecks, had some, heavy favorites get taken out in kind of surprising ways. Had a pretty close battle to the finish. You had a second-year driver looking like he was in contention for his first win. You had a good mix of everything. You had a close finish to the 2 heavyweights battling down to the end, much like we might see at Homestead in a few months, if you ask me. So I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was an all-around good race. It was cold. If you were there in person, it was extremely cold, colder than you'd like it to be in Texas at any time of the year. But
see, whatever it is, if you're planning to go to a NASCAR race, your weather's probably gonna be fine leading up to it until the day of the race. Because if Eric said it was cold when I went to Atlanta. Weather was fine beforehand, then the rain happened, it got cold. As I'm getting ready for Bristol this weekend, well, we have 100% chance of thunderstorms for Sunday, whereas the days before it's going to be sunny and 80 degrees. And then even Monday, if I can even make it for Monday, if it doesn't happen, it's looking like highs of 45 degrees. So fun times all around, exactly. And then we had the whole Martinsville situation. So
this has just been one of the coldest starts to a NASCAR season I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it can be prevented. I mean, we were talking before, moving Bristol might be something good. I think they should move it to the weekend before the All-Star race. With Martinsville should be moved both ends of the schedule. Martinsville should be moved closer to the summer where it's warmer. Like the stuff in April, like early April, late March, or November, October. Like when I went in 2015 to the fall race, I think the high it got to was like 55 or 50. It rained the whole time before. They had to have the dryers out. And it's just, you get lucky sometimes, but a lot of the times it can be just miserable the race weekend. So I think they need to move those in. You got other tracks where it's warmer all year round, like Talladega. You could probably move that to where Martinsville is, switch them. I don't know. I feel like NASCAR can do something, but they don't want to.
I think for future reference, Martinsville needs to have, now they got lights, of course, they need to have a September night race as the last race before the playoffs start in place of Indianapolis.
That'd be pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely be more entertaining.
Yeah, that'd be a crazy final race. That'd be like, goodness, yeah, I don't know. You'd see tempers after that one. That'd be pretty wild. I don't know about changing the schedule is always interesting because you know it's so much of it is geographic based. I don't know. You haven't seen. I don't know. I feel like this year's more of a fluke than anything. You don't see Martinsville be in the 30s that often in late March, early April. Same with Texas. You don't see it in the 40s very often. I think it's just been. I mean, it went from being, I think, 85 on Friday at Texas to by the time they went, well, the next day it was like 30, and then it was 45 by Sunday. It's just, I think it's just crazy. But yeah, it'll be interesting because they're going to be re-looking at the schedule by 2021, 2020. That's going to be, it'll be interesting to see what kind of changes they make there.
Yeah, I think they are. I know this year they're all locked into the contract, either 2020 or 2021. I know the rumors are going around that they're going to make some like massive changes, like, you know, through the time that we've been watching the sport, there won't be changes as big. So I'm hoping they hold up on it, and I'm hoping that it's not like changes to the worst. Like, because I think a lot of people forget, it's like, you know, yeah, they can promise change, but change isn't always good. You got to make sure it's the right change.
I read something that there's quite a number of people lobbying for Nashville Fairground Speedway to get a actual NASCAR date, possibly even a Cup Series date.
I'd be down for that. Same with Pikes Peak.
I know there's several tracks that have been lobbying for NASCAR races, at least recently, or at least that have been brought up in rumors. And I know most of them are usually shorter tracks or road courses, which I think NASCAR knows the majority of fans want. So I'd hope that they do make any significant changes to the schedule, it's adding 1 or 2 or 3 of those types of tracks that we don't currently, in place of, you know, like 1.5 miles or 2 miles or, you know, some of the other races.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like that. Every Wednesday night they have like a panel on NASCAR America, and you know, recently my grandpa has recorded it and he showed me a few. And one thing that Dale Jr. had said, and I think I said this last week, but I think it bears repeating, is back in the 80s, like, they had the Chase Elliott versus Denny Hamlin kind of deal. They had that like every 3 weeks to a month. It wasn't like, you know, like nowadays where, like 2014, for instance, you had like 2 or 3 fights that in the span of like the 10-week chase. That was a fluke. You know, that doesn't happen very often in modern NASCAR. Usually you get like 1 a year, and that sort of energizes the fan base for a few weeks. But I think if you added 2 short track races and maybe 2 or 3 road courses to where people are having to hit each other and having to beat and bang, I think you have that again. I mean, you can keep the tracks you already have, the cookie cutters. Like, you know, you can keep a Chicagoland race. You can probably still keep 2 Kansas races, honestly, if they really want it that bad. You know, I just think it's a matter of they have to be smart with their negotiating, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I've read an interview, I think it might have been with Martin Truex, who said recently that he was asked, like, do you think NASCAR needs to add more road courses? And he said 2 more would be good. He acted like 4 is like the perfect number for road courses, which I just thought was kind of, I don't know, that was interesting. I guess this year we technically have 3 with the Charlotte race in September. So we'll see how much fun that is. It'll be cool to have one in the playoffs. See how that changes things.
I'm looking at the chat here. I noticed AB68 said last non-rain Bristol race was 2016. Carl Edwards won. Actually, last year's race was not rained out, surprisingly, like the fall race. So that was surprising.
I know that we kind of got a little off track, but is it cool if I just do the rundown of where everyone finished at Texas, MRN style?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So Kyle Busch won the race. Yeah. Second was Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray third, Eric Jones fourth, Ryan Blaney fifth, Joey Logano sixth, Kurt Busch seventh, Bubba Wallace eighth, Clint Boyer ninth, and rounding out the top 10 and lead lap cars, William Byron. I think that's his first top 10 if I'm not mistaken. 11th is Chase Elliott, Trevor Bayne 12th, Ty Dillon 13th, Michael McDowell 14th, who's surprisingly been not as bad as you would think if you actually look back at a few of the races. 15th, Chris Buescher, Matt DiBenedetto 16th, Kasey Kahne 17th, Ross Chastain, and I think his first start 18th, Cole Witt, 19th. Gray Galding managed not to wreck. He finished 20th. Landon Castle, 21st. Harrison Rhodes, 22nd. David Reagan, 23rd. AJ Allmendinger, 24th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 25th. Austin Dillon, 26th. 27th, Ryan Newman. 28th, Alex Bowman. Daniel Suarez, 29th, and we'll talk a little bit more about him in a bit. 30th was Paul Menard, and Reed Sorensen, 31st. Eric Almirola, 32nd. Brad Keselowski, 33rd. 34th was Denny Hamlin. 35th, Jimmie Johnson. 36th, Kyle Larson. And finishing shotgun to the field, Martin Truex Jr. How often does that happen?
Not often, especially not a mile and a half. That's going to kill his average finish this year.
Yeah.
It was really sad for Jimmie Johnson to finish so poor because it actually looked like this might be the first weekend where he could actually have a really good run. And then, of course, it didn't happen.
Yeah, they had – what was it? What got him back in traffic originally? Was it a pit road penalty or did they have a loose wheel? Because I know he was running top 10, had an issue, and that's where he got in the wreck.
Yeah, he was having some kind of mechanical issues, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that was fortunate.
Yeah, I think it was something like that or some pit road thing, but I know he was a lap down at one point. And then he managed to get back in the lead lap, and like that was right as I started sort of watching it more in depth again, because how sometimes you're just walking around doing stuff, whatever. But I started watching, and I'm like, saw him and Denny Hamlin around there. I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Oh crap! And Keselowski and Hamlin crashed, and Johnson had nowhere to go. And honestly, his season this year reminds me of Tony Stewart in 2016 and Junior last year. They can't catch a break. They couldn't catch a break, and Johnson can't.
It's a mixture. It's a mixture, of not catching a break, I think, and it's also, 2016 was Stewart's last year. Technically, last year's Junior's last year. I know nobody wants to say this is Jimmy's last year, but it just feels like a mixture of not catching breaks. But you also just get the feeling they're not in it. Really, they're really just not feeling it the way they have in the past. Stewart was coming off all his. He'd had injuries. He'd had, off the track issues. That kind of led into the end of his career there. So you just had a feeling his head wasn't in it. Obviously, Junior with the injuries and concussions, you just had a feeling he wasn't completely in it. There's really no reason for Jimmie Johnson to not be in it other than I think the team's struggling a little bit. And I think maybe it's in his head or I don't know what it is, but some combination of the 48 team right now is just not – you're right. They look a lot like Tony and Junior, and I think part of it is just they're not motivated or they're just not focused anymore. I don't know what's gotten to them.
Well, and I think that's something a lot of people forget is, Jimmie Johnson, he's only like, I think, a year younger or the same age as Dale Jr. and a few years younger than Jeff Gordon. He's in his early 40s. And while to a lot of people that might not be like considered like really old to race car drivers and NASCAR drivers, especially nowadays, it's not like he's getting any younger. I think he's the oldest guy in the garage right now, And sometimes, like I'm a Vikings fan, and Adrian Peterson was just incredible for like about a decade. I mean, it was just incredible to watch him. And you get to a certain age, no matter what sport, and you just hit a wall. And and that's not to make a pun. It's just, sometimes you got it, and then you realize everything's out of the tank. And I think that's what Jimmie Johnson is at personally. And I think I've been saying this for a little while now. I do think it's his last year. I think that within the next month or two, he's going to announce it. That's just my opinion.
Also, I don't know if you caught this, but Chad Knaus is going to be a father in August.
So his head might not be in it either. I mean,
yeah, I think it's a combination of a ton of things. I think it'll be interesting to see if this is Jimmy's last year. I think if Jimmie, I'd give it a 40% chance he retires at the end of this season. But if he does continue past this season, I think he'll go until 2020, and I think he'll retire in 3 years or whatever. But it's a
the only thing is I'm just curious if he decides to stick around, who is going to sponsor him? Because it's kind of hard to convince a sponsor to come on board with somebody knowing that they're only going to have maybe 2 or 3 years with this driver potentially. I mean, now here's just an idea I'm throwing out there. What if the AARP decides to do something like they did with Jeff Gordon? What if they come in with Jimmie Johnson or something like that?
Yeah, that's a sign you're getting old right there. When AARP comes in to sponsor you the last legs of your career. But yeah, maybe. I mean, I compare this Jimmy's situation. I think is similar, but not that similar to what Matt Kenseth ran into last year. Because in Kenseth's case, there was a driver. Really, it was more of a financial decision than anything. I think Kenseth. DeWalt would have sponsored Kenseth for a decent amount of races. He had some sponsorship there, but he didn't have a full schedule. And I think Eric Jones definitely was going to be able to bring it over a full schedule. The difference with Jimmie Johnson is, even though Lowe's is leaving, I think Jimmie Johnson, one, is a bigger star than Matt Kenseth. I think most people in America who follow sports have heard of Jimmie Johnson and know who he is. He's a bigger name. And I think Hendrick Motorsports, I know people talk about like Tyler Reddick. I don't think he's not in the same position Eric Jones was last year, where he was just an obvious cup ready replacement for Kenseth. I don't think Reddick's that for Johnson just yet. So I think Hendrick is going to want to keep Jimmie Johnson, and I think if sponsors know Jimmy's going to be around, even if it's just for 1 or 2 years, I think he can put sponsors together for 2 years. I think I don't know who. I don't think he'll get one committed sponsor the way he's had Lowe's, like every race, every season, but I think he can put together a group of sponsors to put together most of a season, most of those 2 seasons. But
here's maybe a little kind of food for thought. And again, a lot of this is reaching, and a lot of this is me sort of connecting dots that aren't there, but I'm going to say it anyway. So recently, because of all the political stuff, Papa John's has pulled out of the NFL. So they got a lot of sponsorship money just lying around right now, and they haven't used it. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I mean, you look at where they align as a company, or where their owner aligns politically, and you see all this. And Jimmie Johnson is a very, he is a non-political person. He's not going to bring a bad name to that brand. Well, and it's a new wave, a new front for them to go into. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not even saying it's a good chance of it happening, but that'll be my outside pick for a big sponsor. Hasn't been in the sport, but could sponsor Jimmie Johnson. My outside pick, Papa John's.
That'd be a good one.
I could say that. And one thing we haven't really seen a ton of pizza restaurants enter the sport and like a NASCAR as a sponsor. I mean, we've seen a few here and there. Maybe Hunt Brothers Pizza be the biggest one, but obviously not many people really eat Hunt Brothers Pizza, let's be honest.
Well, and they dominate the competition then. And I mean, I could see that. I honestly think that in one way or another they'll be in the sport, just because they have so much money lying around from their NFL sponsorship, because they dropped a ton of money in that. So why not? I'm just trying to think outside the box here, because before
outside the pizza box.
Chat, type 1 in the chat if you thought that was funny. Chat, type 2 if you're like
type
me.
Anything else if you're a little skeptical.
Anything.
I could
spare me.
I would love to see Jimmie Johnson in a Papa John's ad. If they keep Peyton Manning and J.J. Watt in the ads, bring Jimmie Johnson in. Goodness, that'd be some star power right there.
So Tag Nation says Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, and Domino's have all been in. Yeah, Domino's was for,
Domino's used to be the official pizza of NASCAR.
Well, yeah, we've seen them here and there, but honestly, they've never really lasted that long. We haven't really seen pizza companies stay in NASCAR for a long time or anything.
Because NASCAR fans don't like to order pizza; they like to go drive and get it themselves.
Ooh,
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is.
That's why Hunt's Brothers stayed around so long, because all you have to do is heat those ones up, right?
I
don't even know what Hunt's Brothers is, honestly.
There's one near my house, and I've never eaten at it.
Ooh, Smitty Rule says you could say Jimmie Johnson losing Lowe's as a sponsor was one of his all-time lows.
Oh gosh,
God, this is worse than last week's stream already.
Type 1 if you like that one, guys.
Type anything else if you don't.
We're having poopy puns tonight.
Yeah, that's true. Little Caesars has been with Chase Elliott, but Little Caesars doesn't deliver. You have to go drive and pick it up.
And that
was Elliott.
And that was a one race deal to promote some kind of new pizza they had that was like associated with Mountain Dew, which was the real reason that was because it was with Mountain Dew.
That's yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize Little Caesars wasn't even in the sport. I'll be honest, I don't like Little Caesars. It's
his car at Bristol last year in the spring race was a Little Caesars car, but this week he's got the Baja Blast car, which is going to look pretty cool.
Have you ever seen, just going back to Little Caesar really quick, you ever seen the show How I Met Your Mother?
I've seen it, but I don't know where you're going with this.
So there's an episode where I think they go to Chicago for this certain pizza, And like they're like, it's fine, it's great. We did this in college. And then they go and they drive, they eat it. And then they start driving back, and within 4 hours, they're sitting. It's Ted and Marshall. They're in the car. They're like, cut it out of me! Oh my god, it's horrible. It's like a rock in my stomach.
Chicago pizza is big.
Well, that's how I see Little Caesars.
I have a friend that hates Little Caesars. He just has a grudge against Little Caesars. I don't know. He just brings it up every time we're together.
The only pizza from them that I'll eat is that $6 most bestest or whatever it is.
There goes our chance of getting a pizza sponsorship with Little Caesars. I don't think they're gonna want to come on the show now.
Oh well.
It's all right. Hunt's brothers will fill in the void.
Yeah. We don't want Little Caesars on this show.
So we should do Hunt brothers. We don't know where the hell they are. We don't know who they are, but eat their pizza.
You find them in like the most random gas stations. That's where you find Hunt brothers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Hunt brothers. You find us in a gas station.
See, what I don't get is how has Kasey's not been in NASCAR yet? They seem like they'd be the perfect sponsor for NASCAR for some reason.
I don't even know who Kasey's is.
I don't know.
It's a gas station that serves like pizza.
Oh gosh, I've never seen one of those. Okay.
It might be like
it's probably a local thing. That's probably why we haven't seen it in NASCAR.
I've seen it in Illinois and Missouri and Arkansas.
Okay, talk about local things. One thing that has always bothered me, obviously it's because of who the driver is and who's out there, but Menards sponsors two drivers in Cup, a driver in Xfinity, driver in the Truck Series. If you look at the map of where Menards is located, it's nowhere near any NASCAR track, really. They're all located in a central area where there's like hardly any NASCAR tracks nearby. So it's like, are y'all really getting the best out of your promotion? But hey, that's whatever.
Well,
they must be.
Yeah, because it's more of a Midwest thing, especially Illinois and Wisconsin. Because Menard is from Wisconsin.
Yeah, it just still doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a Menards in Texas. I don't know how national they are.
No, they're not there. They're more honestly, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's just Illinois and Wisconsin, honestly, because I know that, there's I think there's one or two where I live, and there's a bunch in Wisconsin, but other than that, yeah, you won't really see many Menards.
I think I got in trouble once on my show for assuming that they were like a grocery store because I straight up didn't know what they were. I think I called them a grocery store. I was like, no, they're not.
Oh my God, that's great.
Whoops,
they're about as big of a hardware store as Home Depot and
yeah. Oh, I know this is getting way off track, but do you guys know Kmart still exists?
Really?
I figured most of them had gone out of business, but
yeah. Well, don't get me wrong; they're still stuck in like 1994. But it's like, there's this town that we go up in Wisconsin as for my grandparents and then for cousins, they're for grandkids, and there's a Kmart. There's a Kmart there, and we go to it, and it's like, wow, they do exist.
It's a portal into a past life.
It's like Blockbuster. I think. Let's see. There's someone asked if. Yeah, they do. I think they do. Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore. Blockbuster. Yeah, they. I don't know. Hollywood Video. I know there's like a few of those left. There's like. If anyone knows who Chris Stuckman is, he's a movie reviewer. There's a Blockbuster Video in his town. There used to be one where right down the street from my school, but that they closed a long time ago.
I had like 2 or 3 Blockbusters by my house. One's a hospital.
If y'all ever want to watch a really good video about Blockbuster and kind of like where they went wrong, really go check out the Company Man's video.
Oh, didn't they have a chance to buy Netflix?
They did. They didn't take it because they didn't think that idea would really work.
Same with what's that one? Kodak. They had a chance to get into like the digital market, and they're like, no, that'll never work.
At first, the way Netflix was running really seemed like that wouldn't last long because they were just doing it where you had to mail your movies back in, and that was not good.
No. Wow, what's really funny is we have said that this is a NASCAR stream, and We've went from talking about NASCAR to closed businesses, and
I
viewership
think
went up.
I think y'all have realized by now that we put NASCAR more as a blanket, and we go from there.
It's kind of like a politician campaigning. Yeah, sure, they say something, but then, like, they just do it so they can talk about other stuff. But we should probably actually get back to it. So is there anything really other than Johnson did horrible, attrition?
I thought it was interesting looking at, we had all these big names wreck out or have issues. You saw that top 20 was, I don't know, you saw like around 15th to 20th. A lot of drivers like DiBenedetto, Greg Galding, Chastain. You see drivers you just don't expect to be up there, get top 20 finishes out of it. I thought that was kind of fun.
Let's see. I'll read off the surprising ones. Bubba, even though he's my favorite driver, pretty surprising to see him in 8th. 14th, McDowell. 15th, Busher. 16th, DiBenedetto.
Yeah.
Kasey Kahne in the Levine family racing car is running about the same as he ran at Hendrick last year. So I don't know if that's sad or if that shows how good he is. I think I'll let the chat decide on that one.
I'm scared for Kasey. We're sitting there talking about Jimmie Johnson. I don't know if he's going to want to run like that in that kind of equipment for that long. And I don't see any good rides really popping up for him. Honestly, it may not be a bad idea for him to focus more on his dirt sprint car team. Honestly, but that's just me.
If there's one driver that I'd love to see get in like a really competitive car again and win some races, is Kasey Kahne. I just want to see what he can still do.
See, I see him like when I got into the sport was right when Bobby Labonte was going down. I see him sort of how Bobby Labonte was. So like Bobby Labonte was, for a lot of people, a lot of younger guys that don't know, a lot of younger fans that don't know, he was in the 18 car. He was with Joe Gibbs Racing the year that Tony Stewart won his second championship. Like, that was a good team, and he was on his way out. Then he went to Petty Enterprises, which I see back then equates to about where Levine Family Racing is now. And I mean, see, because that's one problem I have with these drivers. Like we were saying earlier in the week, like Terry Labonte never gave up, but it's like these drivers like Labonte and like Martin, a lot of them, it kind of ruins their legacy. Because these younger fans don't know how good Bobby Labonte was back in the day, or Terry Labonte either.
Right, and I sent something. We have a little group chat, obviously, so we have to communicate with each other to know when we're going to be doing this stuff. So I sent something earlier this week. Bobby Labonte's still not giving up. He's going to run a full season in the NASCAR European Series now.
Yeah, that'll be really crazy to see. I read, isn't that like the first time that we've had a driver like that race full time in that series, or is it? I think it might have been just.
It's going to get some really good exposure for that series and a really big name to be with it at least. So that'll be one positive.
Yeah, and kind of circling back to Kasey Kahne, is a lot of people I know would probably think, well, he's kind of in a bad team like how Furniture Row was for Kurt Busch, even though he did awesome there, or like Phoenix Racing was for him, or like H. Scott was for Boyer. But I think the difference is that Kahne is at this point of his career, like, Kahne at Evernham was hit or miss. He had 6 wins in 06, and then he was awful in 05 and 07. He was just hit or miss, Well, then he went to Red Bull for a year, and he did mediocre, but that team was sort of on its way out. And then Hendrick, he started off well and just got worse every year.
Yeah.
And it's like those bad years, people might rip on Dale Jr., but he had 2 really horrible years at Hendrick, right? Other than his last year, but he did really good for a majority of the time he was at Hendrick. He was a top 10, top 5 driver, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't see that from Kasey Kahne. He just progressively got worse, and owners aren't going to want some washed up guy. Like this is their view. This isn't exactly what I'm saying, but owners wouldn't really want to see a washed up guy in their car like that. They don't want, they want this youth movement. They want somebody that can build a brand around. And Kasey Kahne is at a really bad point where he's sort of where Matt Kenseth was, I guess, except not as good.
And what's sad is he's not even old, really. It's just this situation where it's a situation of where the point of his career where he came in so young, and now there's been so many things change. Well, it's getting harder for people who come into that in that time period to really keep up with. Well, what am I saying, Kevin Harvick? But it doesn't work that way for everybody, though.
Kasey Kahne is 38. He'll be he just turned 38 yesterday. So, I mean, The clock isn't working for him. The climate of the sport isn't working for him. I just think he's in a bad spot.
There's just no rides there, and like we said, the majority of owners would rather invest in someone for the future more than just getting someone for the rest of their career.
Yeah, I think this is an unpopular opinion because I really like Kasey Kahne. For the longest time, he was one of my favorite drivers. But the truth is, he's just not that. He's not good enough. He's not good enough to really deserve a top ride at JGR or at Penske. He never really was. You know, at his best with Hendrick in 2013, 2014, it's like he'd win maybe 2-3 races a year, but then he's just progressively gotten worse. And it's like, you know, Kasey Kahne, he's a good driver. He'll go down in history as a good driver. He has a fan base, partially because he was at Hendrick Motorsports. But he has a fan base. He's just, it's a combination of he's getting a little older and he's not a great driver. At best, he was a playoff driver. He was never a championship contender in his career, as far as I can remember. You know, so it's tough. Yeah, I can compare him to, you compare him to Junior at all. I think Junior is definitely a better driver. He's had a better career. He's raced, although he has gotten to race in more consistently good equipment his whole career. But, you know, you go back to that top 50 list from a few weeks ago, you know, there's a reason Kane's not on that list. Junior, some of these other guys you mentioned, Labonte, both Labones, you know. Kasey Kahne's good, but I would never put him in the top 5 or top 7 best drivers in the sport at any point. So it's a tough. I think that's another. You guys are right. The climate of the sport, teams that are available, all that type of sport are part of it. But I think the other part of it is even if we were to put him in Kyle Busch's car, I think he'd run top 10. I don't think he'd be as good as Kyle Busch is in that car. But that's it's a mix of everything.
I see in the chat, Nick Sant put a few comments that I agree with, that he is a little overrated. You know, he's really inconsistent even when he got 6 wins. And then he said, look at Hendrick in 2014 to sort of compare the drivers of how good they were. Gordon, Jr., and Johnson all won 4 races apiece. Kasey Kahne only won 1 that year. And if I'm not mistaken, was that Atlanta, I think it was? And he got lucky with like basically a caution and Kyle Busch taking Truex out, if I remember right.
2014, I do remember. Yes, it was. I think it was Atlanta. I remember that one. He beat Kenseth at the very end on tires. Kenseth was on 2, and he beat him on the final restart. I think is who that was. I don't remember how he got to that point.
And I sort of think that's sort of, whether you look at it at a microscopic level or the macro level, is that Kane's career is just that. It's a fluke thing here or there. Like, you look at his whole career, you know, he would average, like, he'd have 0, 1, 2, maybe 3 wins in a year, right? And then he had that one fluke year in 2006 with 6 wins. But then you also look at, like, at Hendrick, over a span at Hendrick, he'd be okay, or, you know, like 2012 he was pretty good. I will give him that. He looked like he was delivering.
2008, 2009 he wasn't too terrible, but
he was just inconsistent.
When he was on those teams, he was a playoff contender, is what I mean. He was never a championship contender. I like the Atomic Weasel here in the chat said basically what you just said. He's very hit or miss. He either won or he wrecked. You know, he wasn't the type of driver who you could count on to consistently go out there and run top 10. You know, he's never really been that guy. He's
kind of like how Jeremy Mayfield used to be before his whole deal. Like, a lot of younger fans might not know that, you know, Mayfield, people like, some people overrate him, where they'll be like, look at the star of the sport that's fallen. It's like he never really was a superstar, but he won, I think, 9 or 10 races. You know, He raced for Penske, he raced for Evernham, and he'd win a race or 2 in a year. But at the same time, I think there was one year, because it's on one of my video games, one of the older ones, that like he won a bunch of races one year, but then he also had like 12 DNFs. And that's sort of Kasey Kahne at a career level.
That's Newman too. He kind of was that way, or at least early in his career.
Yeah. He had 8 wins in 2003, and everyone's like, I cover this in the video I made about why Kenseth deserves his championship, is that he had 8 wins, and everyone's like, oh, he should have won the championship for that. But it's like, the dude had like 9 DNFs, and a lot of them were engine failures. A lot of them were wrecks of his own doing. It's like, you know, again, hit or miss. He didn't deserve to be the top guy that year.
I mean, that's kind of, you could argue the same thing. That's part of the reason that Davey Allison didn't win his championship at 92, because they said, you know, he won a lot of races that year, but he also crashed in a lot of races that year. When you're just not the same every week, you're not going to get rewarded that way. But where you look at 2014, Ryan Newman, he didn't win any races, but he did always stay up there consistently around the top front cars. So that's why he did come in second that year.
Yeah, Davey Allison in 92, like the position he was in that race is all he had to do was not wreck. That's all he had to do, basically, and he would have had it.
And he wrecked.
He wrecked, Let's see. Oh, AB68. Black Flags Matter made a video on Kane's 2005 Wreck Festival. Yeah, I remember that year because every race was a red car crashing, whether it was Junior or Kane. So it was like, as a Junior fan at 7 years old, I'd be like, oh, no, he wrecked again. Oh, wait, that's Kasey Kahne again. Never mind. Whatever.
When was Kane's rookie year? Was he 04 rookie? Okay.
He was 04, right after Bill Elliott kind of didn't really retire, just kind of stepped away a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, but let's see. Oh, Nick Sant has Kane stats here. Kane has 18 wins, 92 top fives, and 175 top tens in 511 races, with the best points finish of 4th in 2012. Yeah, 2012 was definitely his most consistent year. He sucked at the start, but once he got that win under his belt, I think it was 600.
I think he won the Coke 600, and then 2013 wasn't really too bad. He won the Bristol Spring race. I was there for that one.
Here, let me look up his stats really quick because I think that might be something just on a yearly basis.
It sounds like he got a lot of those wins. I mean, 18 wins isn't bad, but you got 6 in 06. I know I want to say he had 3 or 4 in 2012, and he might have had 3 in 2013 as well. I can't remember specifically, but I remember.
All right, here it is. Here, I got it pulled up on Racing Reference. 1 win in 05, 6 in 06. Any year that I don't say, he didn't get a win. 2 in 08, 2 in 09, 1 in 11, 2 in 12, 2 in 13, 1 in 14, and then that one last year, which he had. Last year, he was. Hendrick, let's look at how he did. His first year, he got 2 wins, 12 top fives, 19 top tens, 4th place finish. Yeah, really good year. 2013, he got 2 wins. He got 11 top fives, 14 top tens, finished 12th in points.
Decent year. Pretty good year.
2014, 1 win, 3 top fives, 11 top tens, 15th in points.
Yeah, that's where it really started to.
15, 0 wins, 3 top fives, 10 top tens, 18th in points. He missed the chase in the new chase era. 2016, 0 wins, 3 top fives, 13 top tens, 17th in points. He missed it again. And that's even with, drivers doing bad and like Junior being out. Like, the field was much easier that year. Last year, 1 win, 3 top fives, 6 top tens. The only reason he made the chase was because of that win. To put that in perspective, he led in his last 3 years at Hendrick, he barely led over 100 laps combined.
Yeah,
he had. Let's see, racing at finish. He had 6 top tens in 2017. He had 7 DNFs.
Yeah, that's rough. I'm kind of getting sad talking about how
it's really sad kind of talking about the fall of Kasey Kahne. But I like how we're basically calling him this irrelevant driver, but yet we're spending so much time talking about him.
Well, I think it's because it's like a lot of drivers in NASCAR is that the popularity, I guess, doesn't match the results. And I think a lot of his early popularity was because he was the pretty blue-eyed guy that all the girls flocked to, He
came right after Bill Elliott, who was popular, so I bet that had something to do with it at first.
He had all that coming together, and then you take 2005 out of it. His first 2 of 3 years were quite good. 2004, 2004. While he didn't win and while he didn't make the chase, the dude finished second like 5 times. He was up competing for wins. And 2006, when he wasn't crashing or blowing an engine, he was winning. It looked like that if he could get the equipment behind him, that he was going to be like the next Jeff Gordon. That's a lot of people were coining him as back then. One person keeps asking, I can't pronounce your name, Review. How about Casey Atwood? Because Kahne is almost like Atwood, right? Like, yeah, no. Atwood was a complete and utter bust.
I keep seeing a lot of people are talking about a couple people have been asking Tristan, I know Taz talking about now, is where Christopher Bell is going to go now that JGR doesn't really have any drivers near retirement.
I think Christopher Bell still needs another year in Xfinity, but that's just me.
Yeah, I do too.
I would give him one more. I think he'll race this year in Xfinity, be one of the top championship contenders again next year. I think I'd have to look, but I'd be curious to know what Daniel Suarez's contract looks like, because I don't think Suarez is going to retire. But if Suarez continues to be a 15th place driver most weeks in that equipment, they might look for something. They might try to swap him out with Bell. I think Suarez would still get a ride somewhere, but maybe just not a top one.
You know who I could honestly see Suarez going with? I could honestly see him joining Chip Ganassi, and I mean he's got room for another car. Bring back like the 40 or something like that.
That'd be cool if they're willing to do that. It's so hard these days because the easy answer for Christopher Bell would be like, oh, put him in the 77 car with Furniture Row like Jones last year. But Furniture Row had a super successful year last year, and they still couldn't put sponsorship together for a second car. So it's just, I think you don't see very many teams adding cars these days. You see more teams shrinking their programs, so I don't know. That's why it's tough to say.
Suarez has been, I was expecting him, like when I didn't publish it, but I had like my own predictions, right? And I had Suarez making it to the round of 8. I thought it was going to be like when he was in Xfinity, where he had, this year where he crashed at the start, but then he finished top 10 a lot. Let me pull up this too. I know I keep going back to Racing Reference with all this, but I'm pretty sure
it's a good place to go to, though. You get a lot of good stuff from there.
Let's see, because Daniel Suarez, where did he finish? 29th. Okay. So, like, last year, I know he wrecked a lot, but every time he comes back to a track, whether it's Xfinity or Cup, he always comes back better. He only had 1 top 5, but he had 12 top 10s last year. And so far this year, he's only had 1 top 10, and he hasn't led any laps. He's averaging a 22nd place finish. And he's been racing it. It's not like he's been DNFing. He's raced at the finish of 6 of 7 races. And if he doesn't perform this year, and then if 2020 halfway through that year he's not very good, yeah, he won't be at Gibbs. Like, Gibbs is at this point where he has such an overflow of talent coming in.
Joe Gibbs is an NFL coach. He is prepared to lose players and get new college football players to come in. He would do the same for his NASCAR team.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing for Suarez. That's like the double-edged sword of racing for a good team is, yeah, you're good, but you're on a good team, but you got to prove it now. Like, BSing in 15th place, bullshitting 15th place, it's not going to cut it. Yeah, look at Joey Logano.
You get to be on a short leash. Yeah, Logano, that's a good example. I feel like that could be what happens to Suarez. Now, I don't know if Suarez will be lucky enough to go to Penske or a team like that, but something along those lines. I like what you said though. I did not have Suarez making it to the round of 8. I have him kind of as like a bubble driver on the playoffs. I kind of think coming into the season, I thought he'd make the playoffs, but I wasn't super confident. But I agree with you. He has always been the driver to get, especially last season, and even in the Xfinity Series when he won the championship in 2016, as they went to tracks for a second time, he was noticeably better. Like, he was just not even close. I remember last season, his rookie season in the Cup Series, he went to Martinsville for the first time, and I think he correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say he qualified like 25th or 20th or something like that, but he voluntarily went to the back of the field at the start because he was afraid he was going to pile everyone up on the initial start because he didn't have Martinsville figured out. So to then come from that, and he's obviously was better at Martinsville last season. He's been somewhat competitive. Yeah, this season, I think the finishes don't necessarily fully represent how well he's run. Like Texas, wrecking on lap 2 wasn't his fault. He just bet wrong place, wrong time. He had a race earlier this season. I don't remember what track. He ran top 10 almost the entire race, and on like one of the final cautions, it was a pit or don't pit situation. He chose to pit, got a bad restart, finished like 16th, and that was like, I felt bad for him because he really had like a 7th place car that day. So I think Suarez, he could still make the playoffs this year, but I agree. I think if he doesn't, and maybe he doesn't next year, or he's still running 15th, yeah, Bell, that could be his ride. I don't know.
I think the bad thing for him is that, like Danny was saying, Gibbs is a football coach. That's how a lot of people, again, I keep saying this a lot, but a lot of the younger fans, that might not know the history of the sport or where different guys come from is, Gibbs is a Hall of Fame level coach in football. And he brought that mentality in NASCAR and has over time went from, fielding one team and he's there to being honestly the best team in the sport. And I think he's the type as a football coach is that results matter. Great. You were up front for 90% of the race or 95% of the race, but when it actually mattered, you faltered, whether it's your fault or not, whether it's a team's fault. That's why you see so many of his team guys get cut or leave, or why so many good people from Hendrick go to Gibbs now. And, he wants the best of the best. And honestly, as it is now, his seat is starting to warm up. And I don't like that because I like Suarez and I want him to be a superstar because he seems like a great person, but that doesn't do anything when it comes to how good of a race car driver you are and how good of your results are.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah, I want him to do well, but we'll see. I was impressed to find out. I guess we can talk about that briefly. His thumb injury that he sustained at the race last week, and I was impressed that he had that injury, had a super damaged car 30, 40 laps down, and still ran all the laps or as many laps as he could there.
And I know you at the beginning of the week were pretty hopeful for maybe seeing Matt Kenseth, but
I mean, I was I didn't want Suarez to miss any time because I want him to make the playoffs and I want him to get all the points he can because I doubt he's going to win a race before the playoffs, but I want him to get all the points he can. But yeah, it would have been nice to see Kenseth or even Carl Edwards. But no, he said he's going to race Bristol with the brace or something like that on his thumb, so we'll see how that goes.
I got a feeling they might have Christopher Bell on standby just on the off chance that hurts him a little bit more than he really thinks.
I'm sure they'll have somebody, yeah.
Yeah, they probably will. And I mean, it's definitely not the worst injury we've heard of. I mean, there's been times where people have been, broken back, like in the chat saying, or, burned or broken ankle. I mean, honestly, this might, give him a little bit of a drive to be better. I mean, look at Brad Keselowski in 2011. Yeah, he won a race, but he wasn't very good until he broke his ankle. Mm-hmm. And then he started winning a bunch. And ever since then has really turned into, as much as people don't like him, has turned into a superstar. I mean, not superstar, but, an elite talent.
I would say he's a superstar. I would say he's top 5 driver.
Okay.
What year was it that Keselowski won like Kentucky and then his hand was all bloody or something like that?
I think that was his championship season, 2012.
Yeah, it's around then.
Because 2011, Kyle Busch won the inaugural race. I'm pretty sure. So for a long time, it was like, whether it was Busch Racing or Cup, it was Kyle Busch or Keselowski. So I'm pretty sure it was Keselowski.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but I wish if there's one thing I can see going to a racetrack, well, even if it's just Chicagoland this year, I want to see drunk Brad Keselowski again because he is funny as hell.
Yeah, no, he's become an icon to many of us.
I was watching that one interview he had with Dave Despain, and he's like sitting there, he's like, "Hey, Dave," and he's like voice is cracking, and Dave Despain's like, yeah.
That was a good impression.
Well, hey, he had to put that sponsor to good use, so.
Oh, he did. And then there was like afterwards he was like drunk in Vegas later that week for championship week, and somebody like caught him like taking a piss at the side of a building or something or a tent or whatever. It's like, God, Brad, I mean, it's funny as hell to watch, but you're making every stereotype in the book come true, man. Come on.
I'm pretty sure he was drunk in that this last season's like Las Vegas when they had like the driver panel or something like that. I'm pretty sure he was drunk during that too. He didn't seem like himself.
Gosh, Brad, do we need to find a new sponsor? Do you have a problem there, buddy? Do you need help?
No, I think he's pretty much figured it out.
I don't think he's losing that one anytime soon.
No. He could probably buy out a gas station, in a store. Let's see. Someone put Beast 1624 put Kez's Facebook Live infield videos are awesome. See, okay, funny story. Going a little off topic. Funny story. We were watching a Notre Dame game, and Brad Keselowski's from Michigan, so he hates Notre Dame, and he's a big Michigan fan, right? So it's 2012. We're sitting there watching it, whatever. This guy on a bike is behind us and stops, and we don't think anything of it because where we're at in the infield at Chicagoland, people walk through our spot so much. It's just, oh, whatever, another guy. Yeah, so whatever, this guy's sitting at the end, basically goes to the end of my uncle's car and is sitting there on his phone. And I go up. I think I had to get someone there, one of my uncles or my grandpa, a beer or something, right? And so I get up, I open up the cooler that's in the front, and as I'm walking back, I look up, and Brad Keselowski sitting on a bike, just sitting there. And he looks at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's just like, and then rides off, and I'm like, but that was, what the hell?
Wait, like a bicycle, right? Like
just
pedaling...
a bicycle. Yeah, okay. Just a pedaling bicycle. He's just riding it through the grass in the infield. I'm like, how the hell did he get through all there without somebody stopping him?
Was he? That's fun.
One year, I forget what it was, but I was at Bristol Motor Speedway. We were just walking and stuff, and if you look closely, just watch out for some of the go-karts, like the golf carts that'll go around you. Because you might just see somebody. Because I saw Brad, and I was like, hey, Brad, and he just turned. All he did was just turn around. I was like, hey, I heard my name.
Yeah, that's how I was with when I was at Martinsville. We saw Clint Boyer, and that was when the Royals were in the World Series against the Mets. And being a Cubs fan, I hate the Mets, and they beat the Cubs to get in.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Clint, I'm rooting for you guys. Yeah.
There was one year I was at Bristol, and it was after the Xfinity Series race, and I don't even think we went out the right way, but we just started going this way, and then randomly, like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had just finished second that night to Joey Logano, I think, and boom, just like happened, like Ricky ran into me. I was like, oh, sorry, and it's like, oh, sorry. And when I realized who it was.
I had, when I was at Texas last year, I was walking on pit road, and I had a guy kind of like, excuse me, and like kind of like bump me out of the way. And I'm like, huh? I turn around, and walking literally about this close to me was Chuck Norris just walking by. I'm like, that was Chuck Norris. Okay. And he had like his bodyguards like pushing people, like parting the seas for us. And I was like, oh.
Who's his bodyguard? Zeus and Poseidon?
He had something. He had a couple big looking dudes there.
No, I'm like, no. I think you had that confused for the extra fists that come out of his beard. He was just moving people out of the way.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't think Chuck Norris needs any bodyguards here. I think he can handle us, even though he's, I don't know, how old is he, like 70s?
I think he's in his 70s or 80s now. I'm just gonna keep looking up people's ages. Let's see. I have Jimmie Johnson right here. Jimmie Johnson will be 43 in September. Norris, holy Jesus, he's 78.
78. Wow.
What?
Yeah. He didn't look it. He looked like he was maybe in his 60s.
Well, that's what plastic surgery will do to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had walking out of Martinsville. My dad likes to get ahead, and he was like walking ahead, and all of a sudden, this big, tall dude in a hat walks right in front of him, nearly hits him. It's Richard Petty, just walking through the crowd,
smacking people with his hat.
Well, I'm just like, Dad, you almost hit Richard Petty. And then,
shut the man in the way, son.
Well, and then one of my uncles. So we're sitting there at this corner. You ever been in the infield of any of the tracks, and they have like the driver's lot, the medical stuff, and then they have like the road leading out? Well, we're at a corner of one of them, watching people go by after then nationwide race, and in that, Brad Keselowski was still in the 88. And I think NASCAR made him go down pit road, and it basically gave the win to Kyle Busch. And this is back, peak 2009, I think, 2008, 2009, like peak Kyle Busch hate times. And Mike Helton, like about an hour after the race, comes driving down. Dude's laughing and smiling. Like I didn't know he could smile at that point in my life. And my uncle just sits there for a second, goes, "Hey, Mike, when are you gonna stop letting Kyle Busch ruin NASCAR?"
Oh my gosh!
And me and my it was 2010. It was 2010 because my dad was there, and we're just like.
Well, did Mike respond? Did he at least give him a look?
He got like really mad, and then just told the guy to drive faster, and it was like, oh my God, we just pissed off Mike Helton.
Get me out of here. Get me out of here, man.
I just think it's hilarious when people say something like that, like Kyle Busch is ruining NASCAR, or Toyota's ruining NASCAR. Like, no, not really.
Well, again, heat of the moment. It was really funny, honestly.
That's funny.
It was funny as hell, and in hindsight, it's a pretty good story to tell.
I liked hearing like when you're at the track, you know, and you see I don't really do it. I don't yell things at the drivers very often. I yelled something at Jimmie the other day when I saw him. He was driving by in his truck during a driver intros. Like everyone had kind of already left, so I could have jumped in front of his truck if I wanted to and killed myself and said Jimmie Johnson killed me, but I didn't. But I was just walking up there. I don't remember what I said, but I usually don't shout things at drivers, but I like watching other people say things to drivers. And so because sometimes they'll be really funny. I'll be like, a bunch of drivers will be walking by. For years, people would like shriek at Danica. You know, it was always funny to me. Occasionally you'd hear good things. You'd hear like people be like really nice to drivers. I remember last year I was there and I heard like people talking to like Ryan Blaney and like Matt Kenseth especially. Like people were like really nice to them. It was kind of weird. I can't think of any specific examples. So this isn't a very good story, but it's just always fun to hear what people shout and say to the drivers when they're like up close with them like that, because you just don't get that chance in most other sports or really any time to yell at an athlete like that and just like have them hear you directly.
I got a kind of a funny story about Mike Helton that I'll be honest, he probably doesn't want the public knowing about. So our spot is like right around where they have this concert in the infield at Chicagoland, right? And you know, Helton doesn't come around there much often anymore because they don't have the old blues bands they used to. But he came up, him, Pemberton, all the NASCAR official guys. Basically, every big NASCAR official guy other than Brian France is like sitting in our spot basically, right? And he goes and he's sitting there and he's like, you know, he goes off and he'll have a few drinks with people. Well, it's about, God, I want to say an hour later. He'd been doing Jell-O shots, like tons of them with people. And he comes with 2 drinks, head down, slowly, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. Just like sort of scoots across the golf cart, which is a giant, is a mini Hummer. Like the thing is worth like $50,000. Sort of slowly scoots across it. And like I was sort of near there and I just see him lean over to Pemberton. We need to go. But it was like me and my uncle and my grandpa were sitting there like, is Mike Helton drunk? Like he has to be at the driver's meeting and it's like 10 o'clock at night in 12 hours. No wonder he's so grumpy. He's hungover.
Forget drunk Brian France. There is an actually real drunk Mike Helton.
Oh, and it's beautiful to watch. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away. Let's see. Nick Sant says, I'm not surprised Brian France wasn't there. Yeah. He was.
Brian France has been to the last 2 races I've been to. He's been to Texas both times. But
he was at Texas?
It was. I didn't see him in person this last weekend. But I heard he was there. I saw him in November, like walk right by, and I was like, "Ooh, that's an ugly boy right there." But
yeah.
there he was.
Have you seen like how he looked in 2004 compared to now?
I have not. I really don't know what he was.
He is aged so bad.
Well,
I'll look it up.
His like look up Brian France 2004, and then like when you're talking, put it in the camera so we can see, and then look him up like this year. It's like that dude. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom because I drank a ton of water, and I am not Mike Helton. I do not drink alcohol. I am completely completely good.
Hey, did you drink water in under a minute?
I was never able to. Okay, I don't know exactly what year this is. This wasn't too long ago.
Nope.
I mean, he looks kind of goofy.
Yeah,
but he's not. You know, that definitely is not as bad as he looks now. I sound like such an asshole.
look him up when he was with the monster people. Like the dude's face looks like a giant pimple.
Yeah.
I think now he has like a permanent drunk face.
I just like the drunken Brian Frint. Yeah.
Definitely this is he kind of looks like, what does he look like?
See, he looks like Ricky Craven if you put him through the Walking Dead Dead Yourself app.
He looks like one of the characters, one of like the henchmen from the first Spy Kids movie that are like horribly deformed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, while I'm out. You want to start on news stories, since we probably should actually talk about like Monster re-signing for a year?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. So
Sorry, just for reference, these are the types of characters I'm talking about. I mean, not exactly like that, but he looks like he'd be one of them. Sorry, go on. What are we talking about?
we're talking about Monster Energy re-signing until 2019. So basically, it's just a chance for NASCAR to get their stuff in order, because it really sounds like there's not going to be necessarily a title sponsor in the years after that.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing rumors that they're going to do like what, other major sports do, where instead of, it's not called the Papa John's National Football League, it's just the NFL, but they have, or I guess they don't anymore, but they have the official pizza of the NFL is not Papa John. Who is it? Pizza Hut now? Somebody. Anyway, they're going to do things like that.
Basically, it really sounds like we have NASCAR Cup Series, and we'd like to thank all of our title sponsors. Mm-hmm. And instead of one company having to front a huge bill, they can open it up to a lot more companies to go ahead and pay and split the bill up, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. It's difficult in this day and age to get one company to agree to a long-term contract like that and front, like they had Winston as a sponsor for 30 or 40 years. They had Sprint as a sponsor for like 12, 14, 15 years.
Honestly, for their respective years, they were financially able to do that. During the time of Winston, a lot more people smoked back then than they do now. That was a good time for them. Sprint come in right when cell phones were starting to get huge, really, and that was a good time for them to really come in there and do that.
I mean, that's for sure. But it's just this day and age, NASCAR, obviously, it's not as marketable as it was 15, 20 years ago.
So NASCAR just needs to do something to get the viewership back up. There's diehards like us, but we got to get the casual audience to actually give it a chance now.
Yeah, I just think this makes sense from a money standpoint to get several companies, big companies, to put forth a little bit of money, like kind of piece together a full series sponsorship.
Right. So, I mean, you could have 4 or 5 companies splitting it up, and honestly, a few people that would, if it was like that, a few people would come to my mind is Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shops. I think he would maybe be interested in maybe doing it more like that.
Gosh, guys, I not to interrupt, but you're talking about TV ratings. I just looked up Texas. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, it was bad.
Let's hear it.
All right. This is like bad for even this year's standards. Granted, last year's race was on Fox. This is FS1, but Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series Texas 500. Let's see. And this is this year's. So, earned a 1.7 rating and 2.82 million viewers, down 37% in ratings and 38% in viewership. Holy Jesus.
Okay, I'll give NASCAR this handicap. They had 2 big things to compete with. They had the Masters, which was going on, and then starting at 5 o'clock, you had WWE WrestleMania. 2 big events that was going to draw away a lot of viewership.
I think the big thing was the FS1 versus Fox. At least that's what I read. Because I also saw something that this was the biggest, the most viewed thing on FS1 like this year or something like that, which it just shows how bad FS1 is compared to Fox.
Well, to put it in perspective for any Texas race, Kyle Busch's win was the lowest rated edition of the race, which dates back to 1997, and least watched since Dale Jr.'s win in 2000, because viewership back then was not available. The race hit an all-time low in ratings and or viewership every year for the let me reread that. The race has hit an all-time low in ratings and or viewership every year for the past decade, excluding rainouts. The move from Fox to FS1 and competition from the final round of the Masters only exacerbated the free fall. Let's see, is there any more else in this?
They also leave out Dale Jr. retiring.
Yeah,
I'm telling you guys, being at the racetrack this weekend, it was a decent crowd, not the biggest I've seen in Texas, but comparable to what I've seen the last 3 or 4 years. But I'm typically used to seeing 40% of the fans in Dale Jr. wearing Dale Jr. merchandise. I'm telling you guys, I would say 5 to 10% of the fans had Dale Jr. merchandise. It was incredible how much less Dale Jr. stuff there was just a few months after he's retired. I'm gonna double down and say that is what's gonna hurt, is killing NASCAR this season. That is why NASCAR is not doing as well this season as opposed to last 2 years. I don't think it has to do with the package, the schedule, anything else. I think 100% it's because Dale Jr. retired, and I think it's going to suffer this year, maybe next year, but I think this is the bottom of the barrel for them, I think, as far as ratings go.
If it goes down, especially the second half of next year and 2020, like NASCAR will be in serious trouble because for modern sports leagues to remain relevant, they need to be either on TV or streaming, and they need a major service, like especially because streaming, I know I keep harping on this, but streaming is the future. Like, there's no way around it. People are going to stream instead of sitting down and watching on TV because you can do more, right? And if they keep on like this on a free fall, because I mean, it's not, like the drivers have been retiring, but I mean, at the same time, since 2013, it's just been downhill. I mean, even before the drivers started retiring, a lot of them, like 2014, people don't remember, was way off from 2013. 2013 was flat with 2012, which was way off of 2011. It's been the steady decline that's only getting steep with these drivers retiring. But if they can't, with only 2 or 3 years left of their contract, because their TV contract right now is in their 4th year, right? So if by the end of their 6th year, they can't get it figured out how to get it better, they're going to have some major problems finding whatever TV station they use again. They're going to have a problem finding a major streaming station, whether it be on YouTube or Amazon or Netflix or whatever one wants to pick it up. And all you're going to have left as something solidly in place is radio. They'd be stuck in the 40s, basically, with how they broadcast. So, I agree that this year is the Dale Jr. effect. But I think that if next year it's still going this bad, they have a lot of decisions to make that are going to honestly dictate the trajectory of the sport for the next 20 to 30 years. Like, that's how big I think this is.
I'm still saying it like this. I really do think that they need to kind of do what I know. Like I said, F1 is doing it. The WWE has done it. They need to have their own network streaming app just specifically for them.
NASCAR's tech people suck, though. I don't trust them to make any sort of app or anything.
No,
they just don't want to. Like, they want to do the sport.
They want to be in 2004 still. They still want to be in 2004, and that's their problem. I think that's the big reason they started this skid, is they're like, we made it, we don't have to change anymore.
I think you're right, though, when you said about them needing to start to make some gains over the next couple of years before they need a new TV contract to show whoever's coming in, look, we are at least steadied or we're growing potentially. I think the Dale Jr. effect is the number one reason right now, but that doesn't mean, I think we definitely need to make some changes in terms of, the actual on-track package, like they're doing for the All-Star race. I think they need to continue to innovate that. That will help bring fans back. They need to continue with all that. I just think we've seen all that has caused small dips here and there. I think the retirement of Stewart, Johnson, or not Johnson, whoops, no, spoiler alert, guys. I have insider information now. Sorry. No. The retirement of Stewart, Edwards, even Kenseth, and Junior, obviously, that's really dipped it. And I just think, I don't think you're right. They were struggling before Junior retired, but I think it's just they really weren't in the danger zone. I think once Junior's left, what we've seen this year has really been like, this is where we actually are starting to feel like we're in the danger zone. Because also think about it this way. Maybe it's just because we weren't all on YouTube all the time doing these types of videos 3 years ago. But it feels like this year, the last few weeks especially, we've heard a lot more people on YouTube and on the internet, on social media, be critical of NASCAR. And I can't help but think, well, why is it this year that they've decided to do that? Because if you ask me, the racing this year has been as good as the last couple of years. It hasn't been any worse. It hasn't been any better, really. It's just been about the same. So why is it this year that everyone's really like starting to be critical of NASCAR? And I think a large portion of it is because a lot of Dale Jr. fans, who many of those Junior fans they're still watching. Like I know you guys still watch. You know, there's a lot of junior fans that are still watching, have other drivers to pull for because they really like the sport. But there's a lot of junior fans, just like a lot of the Kenseth fans, a lot of the Edwards fans, a lot of the Stewart fans, and so on, have kind of just tuned out, or they watch the Daytona 500. They might watch Martinsville because they remember those are good tracks, but they're not going to watch Texas. They're not going to watch Las Vegas. They're not going to watch Phoenix, you know, because it's not as important to them anymore. And I think, where was I going with this? I think it's important to note that as being a huge deal. And I think a lot of people are now becoming critical of the sport because they're no longer blindly rooting for it because they're really invested in one driver. They're now just watching it. I mean, I think about this. I'll try to sit down and watch an NBA game on ESPN, say the Timberwolves versus the Raptors. And I'll be like, oh, I know who Jimmy Butler is. I know who DeMar DeRozan is. This is kind of fun. But at the end of the day, I'll turn it off after 30 minutes because I don't really care about that game. So if you're a huge Dale Jr. fan, a huge Matt Kenseth fan, a huge Jeff Gordon fan, and you're trying to sit down and watch now, I love basketball. But like I'm saying, I love the sport of basketball. I couldn't watch a game that the Rockets aren't playing in. I couldn't do it. If I'm a huge NASCAR fan, it's harder to watch a race that Matt Kenseth isn't in. You know, it's not as much fun. I had a good time at Texas Motor Speedway this last weekend because Eric Jones led a bunch of laps. But if Eric Jones ran 15th, I probably would have been bored. I'll be 100% honest because I would have had very little rooting interest in that race. And I think that is fans have lost a reason to really care about the sport and be upbeat and positive week in, week out. And I think that's a large reason why we've seen more criticism this year. I don't know. That's my rant on that topic.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to circle back to the point I was one of the points I was gonna make, but it's like I know that a lot of people say this about their drivers, but one thing that I think we can agree that Dale Jr. had that connection with that a lot of people didn't, a lot of people took for granted is Jr., while he had a connection with a lot of newer fans with social media, with how he acts, with music he listens to, all that stuff, right? He also still had that connection to the older Earnhardt fans and the old grassroots fans, right? So those few guys that might be sticking around, like, I'll sit there and watch a race with my grandpa, and it's not the same, but for him, Junior was that last connection really to the old Southern roots, even if he wasn't a good old boy, like a lot of people like to say he was, because he's really more of a Southern hip hop kind of guy. But I think a lot of people, and it goes along with the Dale Jr. effect, didn't realize how many people were just sticking around for Dale Jr.
And what's sad is if you've ever listened to him really talk, he doesn't want people to stop watching just because he's not there. He wants people to keep watching.
That's why he's in the broadcast booth. And one thing, like I saw right here, Tyler Johnson said, Eric's starting to sound like Radman. And we're not, listen, people always say this to, when someone criticizes NASCAR, NFL, any sports thing, any political person, I won't go in depth about politics, but I'll just say I criticize people that I would support in politics. Why? It's not because I hate that person. It's because I want them to do the right thing, or what I perceive the right thing. And that's why we criticize NASCAR, and that's why we're talking about this right now is NASCAR for so long has been putting Band-Aids on broken legs. Like, that's their problem, is that they do the thing that looks like the quick fix. Oh, this looks like it'll work for a bit. And then they just try and forget it. And I think that's the thing that fans for about 15 years now have been trying to tell them. Even when they were really popular, fans were like, listen, like, you got to fix some of this stuff. You got to fix the fact that, you're packing people in like sardines at racetracks. And 15 years later, they're finally fixing that. But they got to stop being reactive. And I think that's the thing that a lot of fans, a lot of media have been trying to say is you got to be proactive in this stuff. If they were proactive in safety, who knows? Dale Earnhardt might still be alive. If they were proactive in changing with the changing landscape, they might be right up there with NFL still. I mean, those things are, you'll never be able to know, but if you'd been proactive, you would have had the chance to know. And I think that is NASCAR beyond anything else. Their biggest problem is they are reactive and not proactive like the rest of sports leagues are.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. And I mean, and I would still even say we're not being overly critical of NASCAR as a whole either. I mean, and even saying I'm sounding like Radman, I wasn't being critical of anybody. I was just stating what I believe is I'm not saying NASCAR is terrible or doing horrible in ratings. It's definitely not doing as well as it has been, but I've always said that. I'm just pointing out that I think the reason behind that, more than people really seem to give it credit for, at least people on TV never talk about this. This is why I love coming to YouTube and talking to people like you and even people like Real Radman, because they're not, they're not paid they're not going to get fined for saying something negative about NASCAR. Because I think just the truth about it is that a lot of people have not given enough attention to is the fact that drivers really drive, for lack of a better word, they drive the interest in the sport. It's the one thing I've always said to my friends who ask me, why do you like NASCAR? Why do you watch NASCAR? And I'm like, well, once you get into it for a little while, the racing is fun. But what's most fun to me is paying attention to different personalities, seeing how they relate to each other, seeing the drama between different drivers, seeing how people, will go from team to team, succeed. And you hear a lot of success stories, a lot of feel-good stories in NASCAR. So I tell them, once you get into it a little bit, you start to learn a little bit about everybody, and that's what makes it fun.
When you look more than it just being cars that go around in circles and occasionally crash, it's actually pretty good to understand how it actually works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You get into anything, but I think NASCAR, as opposed to other major sports, other major sports, it's for the love of the game. I think for NASCAR, for some people, it's for the love of just pure racing, but there's tons of good racing out there. NASCAR, I would argue, probably is not even the best racing out there that you can find. But what makes NASCAR fun is the racing is good, usually, and there's a lot of interesting personalities. And you don't see that in very many. I think that drives the interest in NASCAR more than it does the interest in football or some of the other sports. I think the reason the NBA is doing so well is because it's a mixture of a fun game that a lot of people can like and relate to, and they pay a lot of attention to their personalities and the drama around different players and stuff. So I think NASCAR has the drama between the players. They just necessarily don't have the product that everyone wants to watch. I think it's a mixture of two. But now with Junior and Gordon and Kenseth retiring, they don't even have that, and that's why they're in trouble, or that's why they're struggling more. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably
we should move on
from this because we're just gonna keep going.
Have we even been on topic? I don't even know.
We went from Monster re-signing to this, so I guess you could kind of say we are, because it
has to do with the future of the sport.
At least we stopped talking about pizza companies.
Yes, a little less to the future, but still in the future. All-Star race, restrictor plates, not at a plate track. So
it's either gonna be really good or really bad. Nowhere in the middle.
I have to ask, because I didn't see the format. What is the new format other than the plates?
They will also have the air ducts that they used at Indy in the Xfinity Series. I don't know exactly if the race itself has changed, or if it's more or less like the cars that are changing.
I want to say the race.
I know they're going to have the 2014 style splitter, and the spoiler is going to be raised a little bit.
It's going to be raised, and they said something about dog ears. Does that mean it's going to be like the Xfinity spoiler, sort of?
Yep. Those are dog ears. All right, so I'll go on ESPN and see what they got.
And I think Taz Taylor is right. That sounds right for the length of all the stages. Or it might be actually, I think it's 30, 20, 20, 10. That sounds right.
The format for the annual and this is not, if ESPN will stop glitching on me, it's just as bad as its network.
How does ESPN have such a bad website? I don't get that.
Well, you see, they've been firing people because they turned into CNN Sports Edition. The format for the annual non-points event will include 4 stages: 30 laps, 20 laps, 20 laps, 10 laps. Only green flag laps will be counted in the final stage. Normal stage breaks proceed, and my dog goes crazy because people are home. With one exciting addition, NASCAR overtime will be in play for all stages. See, that just is with the restrictor plates and slowing everyone down to the same speed.
Like, is it necessary? I don't know.
I just think this is a recipe for only like 7 cars at the finish.
Wait, hold on. I missed that. Did they say overtime is in effect? So are they going to like
every stage has overtimes now? If like there's like a crash with 2 to go, they'll have an overtime in that stage.
Okay, my bad. I thought it was, for a second I was interpreting that as perhaps are they going to intentionally throw a yellow with 2 to go and say no, we're going to have a 2-lap.
I wouldn't put it past them.
I think that would be a mistake, and
that's a gift they would try.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay,
let's see. The field for the 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR All-Star Race, that's a short name, will include, I'm just going to say, Cup winners from 2017 and 18, former All-Star Race winners who are competing full-time, and Cup champions who are competing full-time. The winner of each of the 3 stages in the blah, blah, blah Open and the blah 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 winner fan vote, blah 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 blah. There's lots of people that can race. I mean, honestly, it's needlessly complex.
Do they have the field? So wait, does that mean Chase
They have-
he's gonna have to race in the Open?
Let me see. Let's see. Current drivers eligible to compete: Ryan Blaney, Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Jimmie Johnson, Kasey Kahne, Matt Kenseth. Maybe that'd be a nice little surprise for you.
If Matt pops up for the All-Star race, I will buy a ticket to Charlotte right now.
Why not have him come in? Why not? Especially if Eric Jones can't make it. Because Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Jamie McMurray, Ryan Newman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Martin Truex Jr. And I have to ask, since the All-Star race isn't a sanctioned points event, and since crazy shit can happen in it, like bringing everyone's backup cars, would they be allowed to have 220 cars, one for Kenseth and one for Jones?
What I'm thinking is, what if Jones races in that Open race and loses? Like he doesn't get to transfer. So then they just say, Matt, you're in the 20 car. We're racing still.
I think it'd be cool if they had they had Jones in like the GameStop 20, and then they had Kenseth in like the DeWalt 20.
That'd be cool. Yeah, they would never do it, but that'd be cool.
No, that'd be cool. Let's see what else there is. Weekend passes. No one cares.
Yeah, start reading off prices.
Yes, this is a giant commercial, just like the rest of the sport.
For just $99.99, you and your family can be going to North Carolina for the All-Star race. I think I heard Dale, might have been Dale Jr. I don't remember where I saw it. Someone on Twitter was saying, somebody that was like a bigger name was saying on Twitter that they should bring back the pit crew challenge that they did a few years ago.
Bring back that and the burnout competition. That was so good.
Those were always my favorite part of All-Star Weekend. Like the race itself, I think I've only seen one or two good All-Star races ever.
Yeah.
It's just like with NBA does the dunk competition and baseball does the home run derby. I mean, do that. I mean, that makes it so much fun.
If you're gonna make this big deal about the All-Star race, which really, I mean, let's be honest, none of the fans care. They just watch their favorite drivers. There's a reason it's less watched.
I did hear they said they're giving it's $1 million goes to the winner. Was it $1 million last year?
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like it was less.
I think $1 million for a long time, I think.
Yeah, but it's like if you're gonna make this big deal out of something that no one cares about, at least give us something to care about. Like give it some. Like I want to see the pit crews do the pit crew challenge. That's such fun. I want to see the burnout.
The last year they did it, wasn't it? I think 2012 was the last year they did it. That was really fun to watch.
I remember I was like sitting there like rooting for different teams. They're like, oh, I hope this team wins. I'm like, dang it, they got out.
It was just kind of cool because like you'd see, I don't know, for example, you'd see, Ryan Newman's team is in first place. Like, wow, who'd have known Ryan Newman had a really good pit crew? Like
I remember one year back when Jeff Gordon had his team with Tiny, that really big dude. They had this dude on the team that was a tire changer. And he was like 5'8", right? And you know how they had to hit a button to say they stopped? Mm-hmm. Tiny grabbed the guy with one arm and threw him over the other side. Like he threw him over the hood so that he would make the stop faster. Like it was the funniest thing. I wish someone would, if one of those channels, like what the hell are they? Or some of them, like some of the really good NASCAR channels, they have the old races, like. Someone find that footage. That was the funniest thing. I remember because we just got DVR at that point because it was like 2006, I think. And we just, it was 6 or 7. It was back with the old cars. And we just kept rewinding it like, that really just happened. That just happened. Like, no one else saw that?
Corey's right in the chat. Yeah, Harvick's crew would not be very good in the
I remember
crew challenge.
I remember they were doing something the thing at the end of the year, right before the chase, and it was right at the end of the year, and it's like fill in the do a quote for a driver, and they had Junior on there, and it was like, what would pick a name out of hat Kevin Harvick say? Then he's sitting next to him, and he goes, cussing out his pit crew, and it was like right next to Harvick too.
Sounds about right.
Josie Lazalde, I think that's how you say her name, says every All-Star event, NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, NASCAR suck. I'd agree. I mean, the Pro Bowl sucks. The MLB All-Star game, I only watch when Cubs are in it.
Yeah,
NBA,
same. But I like the MLB All Star Game. In fact, I would say that's probably my favorite of the all.
yeah, definitely. NBA, they don't care, so why should I? NHL, I didn't even know NHL had an All-Star game. I'll be honest.
I don't watch
So
hockey, so I can't
more
relate to
more you learn, I guess. And then
that.
NASCAR hasn't had a good one since. God, I think the last good one was 2009 was pretty good when they were like 3 wide for the lead and all crashed. But probably the best all-around one I remember would probably be 2007, especially when the Busch brothers took each other out. That was
I can just remember the highlights, and yeah, I remember the Busch brothers taking each other out. It was a great highlight. I think it was 2016, the open race where we had the photo finish between Chase and was it Larson or Bain? Who was he up against?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Those have had some good moments.
Yeah. Larson and Elliott really kind of established like that at some point they would be the future of the sport. But
well, and Blaney was right there. And then last year those guys were all racing up front too. And Eric Jones, he tried doing his version of pass in the grass.
That was a good battle too. The open race was good.
Yeah, it's been better than the actual All-Star race, honestly. Well, and I just want to bring this up again. I know I brought it up in our little group chat on Twitter, but that is another instance to why there should be a valence on the car and not a splitter. So they can go through the grass like that. I was watching the end of the 2006 Bass Pro Shops 500 at Atlanta, or was it the Texas race I was watching? It's one of those tracks that looks the same. And there's this crash, and I saw then Truex and Junior like went right through the grass and were completely fine. Ended up both getting like a top 10 or top 5 that race. You could never even think about that now. That's something that I would love. Yeah, hashtag Team Valence Beast1624. I'm right with you, man. If we don't have anything else other, I think we talked about this in our chat about the plates. And honestly, like we were saying, it's either going to be really good or really bad. I think that I don't know. I mean, they're going to be on the gas most of the time. They'll probably just have to lift into the corners. But if they can have it like Indianapolis, where they have little pockets of guys drafting, or like how Michigan for the Truck Series is, that'd be amazing. That'd be great.
I think that's what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be the type of deal where it's going to be tough for the leader to really get away from the pack. I think you're right. You'll have groups of cars like we saw with the trucks, or yeah. I think it'll be. You're right. They can't run, full throttle, so you're not going to see a 3 wide pack the whole way around because everyone's going the same speed. There's going to be drivers. The better drivers will probably figure out how to do it better, and they'll get away from people. But it'll be tough for drivers to really get away from each other. It's gonna be hard to break up that draft.
I'm wondering if they're gonna be like the old plate or old Talladega and Daytona races from the 80s before the plates, where they have to keep up momentum the whole time, and they're like right near the wall, and they have to do like dive bomb moves into the corner. That would be pretty fun to watch. It'd be kind of like Darlington. It'd be kind of like how when Darlington used to be really good, that it'd be like that for the All-Star race.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Danny?
No, I think you guys are pretty spot on there.
We want to move on now to the biggest news from the week.
Sure thing. I'm ready.
All right. Well,
I forgot what the news was. Oh, yes. Now I remember.
A lot of people who've been watching the last few weeks might find this a little redundant, but Chase Elliott got penalized.
Again?
Yep. He's been penalized. I think his crew chief penalized $50K, suspended 2 races, Alan Gustafson, and 20 more driver points, which drops him out of the chase, which, I mean, well, and I think we were talking about this earlier, but it's like granted from penalties, he's the 3rd on the totem pole of Hendrick cars because Alex Bowman's 14th, Byron's 17th, Elliott's now 18th in points, and then Johnson's like 21st. So it's kind of crazy.
How the mighty have fallen.
But yeah, I mean, this is big. I mean, we were talking about how points, his first penalty, that could be the difference at come Indianapolis. And I mean, 20 more points and 20 owner points, as Tyler Johnson pointed out. Like, those 20 more points, that's going to make a huge difference at Indy because, I mean, he's if there's one thing Elliott's proven, he's proven that he can find ways to lose a race that he has won. And
Yeah,
that's tough.
It's tough because it's he's a driver who we keep acting like he's going to win. We know he's probably going to win, maybe this season, but he hasn't yet. So you still kind of got to assume that he's going to probably be in a points position where he needs to point his way in, like he has the last couple of years. And yeah, I think he's 18th in points now. I'd have to look at the actual numbers, see how far back he is, but he's got to be at least 10, 15 points out of 16th. Or he might even, I don't know where Austin Dillon is. He might have to be, technically, he might have to get up to like where 15th place is to get up in there. I have no idea, but it's rough. I think you're right.
Taz Taylor points out that he's been penalized 45 points this year. That's a full race. Like, it's basically a race win's worth of points. He's been fined.
Keep in mind, and then you look at the playoffs last year, they got penalized just a few races into the playoffs with the tape on the spoiler. So that's like 3 of the last 10 or 12 races that they've been penalized.
Yeah, and the thing I have to wonder is, because NASCAR, it runs itself like it's a business. They're not going to, take people out unless it's something like Kyle Busch did. But I want to wonder, what's the next step? I mean, the crew chief's been suspended. The car chief has been suspended. Points have been taken away. Money's been taken away. If he gets, say he gets caught at Talladega, because these guys are all on probation, whatever that means anymore. What does... what's the next step NASCAR takes? Do they park him? What is it? What do they do now?
I think
if this happens again,
they'll probably just keep docking him more and more points. I think. I don't know. You can't chase Elliott out.
It's gonna get to the point to where he's gonna have to win really to make the playoffs, I think.
And Nick Samp points out, Chase is 17 points out of 16th already, and the way Hendrick has been, granted he's been the best car at Hendrick, even But at the same time, I mean, you can't just keep doing these things where you get a step ahead and then get pushed right back down again. It's like, I mean, look, like Isaac Jr. 88, 24 puts. The only Hendrick car in the playoffs right now is the 88 car in 14th. And Bowman, don't be mean to be harsh on him here. He hasn't been good. That just shows how top heavy.
No, I'll even admit that even if him being my favorite driver, that's the truth. I mean, he has not been that good so far.
He's honestly been running where Junior ran last year with just a hint of better luck. Honestly,
he's avoided mostly, other than this last weekend, he's avoided wrecks primarily, which is why he's, by the end of the day, he's finishing 15th as opposed to 20th where he's kind of been running. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think NASCAR has to be the same way. Now, the difference between what Hendrick put out and what Stuart Haas put out when Harvick got the same penalty is they put out it was an unintentional modification. They didn't mean for it to happen. It's at least what they're saying. Granted, they might just be trying to cover their ass, but that it's a very important detail to put in, and you don't see that very often. And when it is put in, it usually is for that reason.
I always think it's interesting because they say that, but then they don't appeal the penalty. I think back I just remember when Matt Kenseth in 2013 got a huge, a 50-point penalty for an engine violation that he won. And they're like, well, hey, we didn't do that on purpose. It really didn't do anything. So they appealed it, and they got that reduced to a 10-point deduction or something like that. They got a huge it helped them immensely. So it's if you really think it was an accident or you think the penalty is unfair, you'd appeal it. But I don't know. I tried to talk about that out of the group today, kind of how, because I mentioned it was Rodney Childers on Twitter made an interesting comment about how I think reinforced that maybe it is unintentional. He mentioned that since the G forces and the pressure on the car at fast tracks like Texas is putting extra weight on different portions of the car. He talked about how before the race this last weekend, he actually swapped out one of those back braces for something a little bit sturdier that he thought would prevent that, because I guess they didn't want to have the same issue happen that they had at Vegas. So it makes me think that maybe it isn't completely intentional, but it's also one of those deals where it's none of the teams, or very few of the teams, are actively trying to prevent it. They're kind of oh, well, if it happens, it happens. And, sometimes it happens bad enough where they get caught with it. I don't know.
See, I just, when it comes to that, I have to ask too, is the cars have went this fast before, and they've went around the track, faster at times. Why is it this year that this is happening? Why is it such a big thing this year when all the cars are put basically back to zero and everyone's at an equal playing ground again. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am under the mentality in NASCAR that a lot of the older guys are, is that if you're not cheating, you're not trying. It's like I remember, and granted, I keep bringing up Dale Jr. stories, but Dale Jr. fan, so my channel deal with it kind of deal. But
DJ for life.
there was this race, and they did a documentary with him, right? And it's like, you're gonna start in the back today, and he's like, why? And he's like, well, you were 5/16 off, and they gave you a 3/16 leeway or something. It's like, oh yeah. Then the guy goes, yeah. Now tell my senior said, now we'll put the good stuff in. That's honestly, I think they do the same thing now. It's just that they're smarter with it. That's
They're getting clever. I mean, something that at least in the Harvick case, it was the type of thing that it only bent in late into a green flag run, and then later on, you didn't notice it at first. I think the new inspection system this year with the whatever it's called, the OSS, something like that. I don't remember what it's called. But
Boyer said we need to rename it to Clint Boyer, not the one in the chat. Clint Boyer said we need to rename it to something cool.
Like the black tent is what some people have been calling it. Yeah,
he's like, we're calling it the laser inspection station. It's like, come on, you got a bunch of lasers going over a fast car. You gotta have something more badass than that.
Yeah, that's Clint Boyer for you. But I think introducing something new like that, that's why I do think these are probably intentionally or somewhat intentional. It's just a new inspection system like that. You're looking for some new thing to try and get by with, and this is a new idea that hasn't worked, at least for these two. Although it's worth noting. I don't know. I know the image is circled online. Close to Alaskan Yankee. Almost got it. Slightly off. But Jamie McMurray was spotted with a similar possible deal with his front windshield kind of bending in slightly. And apparently, as far as I know, NASCAR did not penalize him for that. And it didn't look to be exactly the same. It didn't necessarily look like anything broke. It just looked like the windshield was bent in slightly. It's hard to tell if that was just nothing they can control, and it really didn't give them an advantage. Obviously, apparently that's what NASCAR seemed to think about it. I don't know.
I would think the same thing. I would think the front of the car, you would need to be more aerodynamic, where the back of the car can have more downforce, is what I would think. I like AB68. I like his name for it. I think I might call it that now. So I want to call it the death disco. Those lasers look like a dance party. Yeah.
Yeah, it kills you when they find something wrong.
Honestly, when I'm at Chicagoland this year, because I do meet a few drivers every year at this point, I'm going to ask them if Death Disco would be a nickname they'd have for it.
Death Disco. Hashtag Death Disco.
Club Disco. Just call it Club Disco. There you go.
Panic at the Disco. Well, I
panic.
Kind of going back with crew chiefs and stuff. I don't think a lot of fans realize just how intelligent these guys are. Like, these guys have found every nook and cranny that they can in NASCAR to basically analyze, and these guys still manage to find ways to get around it. Like, I give A+ for ingenuity, and these guys are incredibly intelligent, because imagine the stuff they're getting away with,
Yeah, that's why you always have people calling each other out. Keselowski's called out Toyotas in the past. Kyle Busch has called out Keselowski in the past.
I'm pretty sure Keselowski's called out his own mother before.
Yeah, Keselowski calls a lot of people.
He's probably called out Ford for some reason.
Yeah, he probably accidentally ratted on Logano at one point and was like, "Oh shoot, oh, dang it, I missed it, my bad."
No, I remember once we're going back to Kasey Kahne again. We might need to nickname this the Kahne stream, where he's like sitting there Keselowski's ripping on Hendrick right next to Kahne, and Kane's sitting there in the driver's thing, because he finished second and Keselowski finished third, or one of those things. He's just sitting there the whole time right next to him like this.
That's funny. I gotta find that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think that's one you actually can find more. But yeah, he's sitting there and he's like that. And then Junior's like, yeah, Brad has a good heart, but he needs to put his foot in his damn mouth because he can't shut the hell up.
Yeah, I remember a line at the end of last season. I can't remember what was being talked about. They're making a joke about how Keselowski was calling out Toyota for having an unfair advantage last year. And Toyota technically was running the 2018 Camry last year. I can't remember. I think it was Kurt Busch that made a joke. Like, he was just like, "Oh, they don't have an unfair advantage. They're just running a 2018 car in 2017." And that made me laugh.
Yeah, I like Kurt Busch. Like I know a lot of people don't, and maybe it's because he was so cool when I met him. Like I was I think 9 when I met him, and we were talking about the Cubs and stuff. But he had a few crazy years. He had his Britney 2007 stint.
Yeah.
But I mean, I honestly think when he's calmed down, he's a good guy.
I
I like Kurt Busch.
I still remember in what year would it have been? It would have been about 4 or 5 years ago. Kurt Busch. I was in class once. It was high school. We had a test, and I turned my test in pretty early, but I still had to sit there and wait for everyone else to finish. So it was a dead silent room. I had my phone out. I was reading stuff, and I read an article about Kurt Busch, and I don't know the whole story about Kurt Busch, but he had an issue. He and his wife at the time, or somebody, or girlfriend, were splitting up, something like that, or had an issue. And I'd read he had testified. I think this was in a courtroom or it was somebody. He had said things along the lines of he was scared of his wife because she would come home in the middle of the night like covered in blood, and he was convinced that she was like a secret agent spy for the United States government. And I'm reading this in class. Literally, I let out a laugh. Everyone turned to me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm reading right now, but I was dying. I want to find that article because it just sounded so surreal. I'm like, what is going on with Kurt Busch in his personal life? But I mean, I've always liked him.
InfoWars.
I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm actually gonna see.
Yeah, latest from InfoWars. Kurt Busch's wife is an assassin, and the frogs are going gay.
That's what it sounded like. I know, it was crazy.
Yeah, because actually the first thing I saw about that, and I freaking hate this channel, but I saw it from the Young Turks, and I'm like, God damn it, they're the ones that broke it on YouTube. No. They're sitting there like just sort of like making jokes. I'm like, no.
Yeah, okay, I think here's the article I found. It was 2015. That sounds about right. It was about 3-4 years ago, something like that. Yeah, he testified that his ex-girlfriend was an assassin. This is from ESPN.com in 2015. That his ex-girlfriend he believed she was an assassin. And I just was dying. That was the funniest thing I'd ever read.
That's as bad as Biffle putting cameras in his home.
Yeah. I'd say this is funny or worse. I don't know.
AB68 put, I had the weirdest dream last night. Iceberg and Danny were in it. It was in a huge supermarket, and they were buying die casts.
Sounds about right, because actually, this weekend I went to a place called JP's NASCAR, and that basically is a big supermarket full of diecasts.
Well, I work in a supermarket, but you know what? You know when you make it, is when people start writing stuff about you or have dreams about you or fanfics about you.
I was about to say that's
we're a third of the way there.
I'm in people's dreams. How sweet.
Let's see. Tyler, they're putting chemicals in the water. Josie Lizalde. Ashley is an upgrade. I'd agree.
I didn't know much about her. I didn't know much about the assassin either.
She's prettier and less crazy. Let's see. I used to hate Kurt Busch back in 2010, but now he's one of my favorite drivers. Thank you, Nick Sant. Nick Sant's sort of been like the guy in the chat. He's been the star of the chat tonight. So I'll give you a star for you.
I'll be honest. I haven't really been looking at the chat enough tonight.
Armady DePaul put hashtag Danny and Iceberg did 9/11.
Wow, the conspiracies are flying right now.
Smitty Rules asks, Eric, do your Dale Jr. voice.
Sometimes if I get goofy enough, I slip into it unintentionally.
Toyota's every time they put it in about chemicals.
I just like the all caps.
I'm trying not to laugh when I do it. Toyota's putting chemicals in their grass.
Rusty gave you all a gold star. Thank you.
Good job, Rusty.
We also need some more likes. We need some more buttons.
Click that like button. Like button, or they're putting chemicals in the water to turn the friggin' frogs gay.
You can put a little bit of salt in the like button. It helps a little bit. Maybe some ketchup too.
Put salt on it and lick that like button off, and then grind up my subscribe button.
Barbecue sauce, works for me.
Should we just do it where every time someone puts something in all caps, I say it in Alex Jones' voice?
Give a star to me.
Bubbles. Give me a star. Yes, everyone watching, hit like. Let's talk about Bristol.
If we get to 40,
Fords.
Junior voice for you.
Pontiac was killed by the Fords. Okay, I'm not doing this every time, guys.
Yeah, that's gonna get a little out of control.
So
you did say you want to talk about Bristol. Are we getting close to that? I don't know.
Yes, we are.
We're getting Bristol preview. We should probably start with Bristol here.
Bristol preview. Danny, do your rain dance.
Hey, don't rain, just don't rain. Okay, that's close enough.
Yeah, so Food
abbreviated
City 500, it's on Fox, it's on PRN. We should do on top of our picks for the race, we should do a pick of like how many empty seats there'll be.
I think the weather's gonna hurt it.
You know, I actually have okay. So in so Epic 8 review put who want me to deliver you a pizza for the next stream? I got an idea. How about the next stream we start off with just like eating a pizza and we're like, oh hey,
It won't be from Little Caesars.
Oh, we're eating a pizza. Oh hi Mark.
it won't be a Little Caesars pizza, assuming they see the stream.
Nick Sant, let's talk about Bristol. Damn it! Yes, we're talking about Bristol.
All right.
So interesting. Bill Goldberg will once again be at the race this weekend. Famous WWE wrestler. Fun fact. I think he's been doing a really fun like deal with him basically for the past 2 or 3 years now. So he's like always a big celebrity. They get to show up for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and do you think they're going to be putting down the thing? What do you call it?
Yes, I read that they're already going to do that. So that is going to happen.
I'm wondering if Bruton Smith's going to get to the point where he's like, listen, we have the stages. It takes about 250 laps for this stuff to get out and before they hit the high line again. Why don't we just stop the middle of the race, put more of it down, and then let them go back out? I could honestly see Bruton Smith doing that.
The problem is we've never really got a chance to really see it that good because it's always rained it off. And it's looking, again, like it'll happen.
Yep. Mm-hmm. See, honestly, we should do a drinking game. How many times I say honestly? There should.
I think the last thing this stream needs is us drinking.
No, not us. The chat.
Okay.
Those were old enough.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think most of our chat is kids. So
anyway, if Bristol got back to being on the bottom line the way that it was until about 2007, I'd buy a ticket for the night race. I would buy a ticket for the night race and personally just drive down there and watch the race.
What did they do again?
How much I want it back.
It was when they reconfigured it and gave it progressive banking, right?
Yep. Progressive banking, and then they changed the tires up. And
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna say ruined is a strong word. I think it's still one of my favorite tracks out there. But it's not as good as it was in the mid 2000s. That was its peak. That was perfect Bristol.
Smitty rules. Let's take a shot every time there's a commercial break during a NASCAR race. You'd be dead before you started.
Yep. Well, hey, I will have my pickup truck out there tomorrow in Bristol, so I'll be filming that and let y'all know how I like the surface. What line do I think is the best on a pickup truck?
Well, that answered my question. I was going to ask if you were filming it.
Yeah, I've got these little cameras right here. Tomorrow morning, I probably need to go ahead and put these like onto it and probably overnight, make sure that they're charging good and everything. So.
I like how quick the chat was to correct us. They're apparently they are not kids. We have very few kids in the chat, so we should start. We should all bet that off.
B1624. By the way, boys, not all kids here. I'm pushing 61 and loving this. That's awesome.
Wow,
great. That's awesome.
Fun. Yeah, this is good. This is good.
See?
This is a good crowd.
NASCAR needs to be more like you, Beast 1624.
And don't be these cranky old men on Facebook. They're like, I hate the way NASCAR is now. You know, if you're watching us, you're probably willing to adapt to the way things are a little bit with giving constructive criticism.
See, I saw Inso Epic 8 review put I'm 21, and I just thought of him being like, well, I'm 21. What?
I'm done. Tyler's killing me in the chat with the Fortnite references now.
Oh, so that's gonna go right over my head.
The Kyle Busch only won because of a golden scar. I'm dying. I'm sorry. I was laughing at the one right below it. And, Armani DePaul said, and DannyBTalks with the onboard camera roll, not third. do a grid walk before you get out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, the Iceberg, DoubleEdud, and DannyBTalks. Who are your picks to win the Dash for Cash in Xfinity? God, I don't even know half the Xfinity guys anymore.
Yeah.
Is Kyle Busch racing? I'll pick him.
Well,
I don't know. How does that work?
No. He's not eligible for Dash for Cash. That's something different. But I don't know who's even in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm verifying. I think Hemrick was one of them, and I don't remember the other ones though.
Oh yeah, because isn't it like the winners are Xfinity guys. So yeah, I'll go with Hemrick. Sure, he's the first name I heard, so let's go with that.
He's the only name I think I know is in it. I'm looking up.
They're also putting Christopher Bell. So if Christopher Bell, yeah, I'd pick him then
Oh
over
yeah,
Hemrick.
if Bell's in it, I'd go with Christopher Bell, but we'll see.
If you were a NASCAR driver, who do you want to fight with? Kyle Busch has such a punchable face.
I would fight the hell out of Kevin Harvick.
Yes, he has a punchable personality.
Yeah, that's kind of right. I mean,
I've told you what my uncle gave him as a nickname, right?
You might have mentioned it.
He calls him Craftsman because he's the official tool of NASCAR.
I like it. I don't think you mentioned that. That's great.
I still say I would fight Greg Galding.
Why?
Come on, man! You didn't wreck this week.
I don't know why. I guess I've always been salty at the way it seems like Greg Galding just tried to push himself way too fast.
See, this here, like this conversation we're having, is the complete reason why we'll never make it on mainstream NASCAR media.
Yep.
Is because we just don't care.
Yeah.
But
it's fun.
But hey, we can be ourselves and slowly make some YouTube advertising money. So
that's one thing why I don't get why Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. would like, and he hasn't done too many yet, but why they play it so safe when it comes to broadcasting. Like, you're the two biggest names in the sport. If NASCAR or one of the TV guys did something to you, there'd be riots. Like, say what you want. Nothing can happen to you.
Yep.
They everyone, they don't want to hurt any of the drivers' brands, I think is what it is. They're afraid of hurting their brands. They don't really want to start drama. I think at the end of the day, maybe NASCAR, everyone's too friendly with each other. You know, we don't have really any real
friends.
We have competitive rivals, but we don't have like actual, like, I don't like you. I watched a podcast with Matt Kenseth from a month ago that he was talking, and they mentioned Brad Keselowski, and I was honestly surprised. I've seen Matt Kenseth. He's been friends with Joey Logano since 2015. Like, they've had talks. They're good friends. He's still not friends with Brad Keselowski, which I thought was very interesting.
See, okay, I know we talked about him earlier. I just want to say a little spiel on him. But I don't mind Brad Keselowski as much anymore. And here's why. Don't get me wrong. He's, he can be over aggressive at times, and I do like his aggressiveness. He can say stupid stuff. But I know that everything that Brad Keselowski says about the sport, whether I like it or hate it, whether it's smart or stupid, he does it because he loves the sport. And he is one of the few guys out there who I can honestly say he would do nothing else in the world every minute if he could just race. That's it. And I know he says a lot of stupid stuff, and there's been times where I'm like, God, just shut up. Go be drunk on TV somewhere. But at the same time, it's like, I admire the passion and love he has for the sport that I don't think many other drivers can emulate. And I think other drivers would agree too. I mean, it's like Junior was saying, it's like the dude, he's speaking from the heart, but he needs to get his foot out of his mouth. Or like Jimmie Johnson has said stuff about him. Jeff Gordon has. It's like, while I agree, at the same time, I like seeing someone so passionate. You don't see that as much anymore because people are just trying to stay calm or stay politically correct about it. Where literally Brad Keselowski has been in the media center being filmed on speed saying that race out there was fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that anymore. A lot of older drivers used to say stuff like that, but you don't see it anymore. And I like that. He's sort of a throwback in a way. Yeah. So that's my little spiel on him. He's not my favorite driver by any means. I can't even say I like him, but at the same time, I can't say I dislike him either.
You respect him is what you do.
Yeah, I respect him, and he's proven himself to me, I guess. And I got, my opinion doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but to me, it does, and he's proved himself to me. So
I completely agree. I'm not a huge fan of the way he always drives on the track, and occasionally he says dumb things. But I gotta say, one thing that I think what's really made me appreciate him, or at least respect him a lot more, is hearing him in the TV booth for Xfinity races the last couple of years. He knows his stuff. He's already maybe the best color commentary out there in NASCAR. Like, he's better than DW, better than Gordon, better than Letarte, any of them. He's the best I've heard, and he only does a few races a year on its Xfinity races, but he's the best part of watching these Xfinity races. So I agree. I like that he's kind of old school in a lot of ways. I like some of that. I don't like some of that. I don't like it when he wrecks people, for no reason or whatever. But I do like that he does care about the sport, and I think that's important.
And that's the huge difference for me compared to Denny Hamlin or Kevin Harvick. It's like, yes, I know they care about the sport. They have to if they're in it, and if they're in it for this long. But at the same time, Brad comes off when he's, especially with younger guys, comes off more as, I don't want to, I know this is kind of touchy for a lot of fans, but he kind of comes off how people used to say Dale Earnhardt was in the garage, where he'll take you under his wing and he'll grab you by the collar and tell you, like, listen, you screwed up. Like, don't do that shit again, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But you know that he's trying to help and he's trying to mentor younger drivers. Whereas Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, they just come across as bullies. They go into the younger, series, Xfinity or whatever. They crash these younger drivers. They blame them. They treat them like crap. They treat guys in Cup like crap. I mean, you look at how Denny Hamlin treated Bubba Wallace after he side drafted him at Daytona. He put him in the wall. Like, really? Seriously, dude? Like, are you that high on yourself? And it's especially what do you call it? Kind of polar on the polar end of where he was when he started. When he started, like, he was the most gracious person in the garage, and like, ever since he started winning more, it all went to his head. And it's like, I remember when he tore his ACL in 2010, I won't say I celebrated him being hurt, but I was like, I don't feel bad because he deserves it. He's getting what he's treated everyone else. I did feel bad for him in 2013 because, you know, no one should get hurt in a racing deal like that. But I don't know, that's like a lot of the difference I see with Brad Keselowski compared to Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick is that Brad Keselowski isn't a bully. He's been at the other end of that. He knows what that's like from both of those guys, And I think he usually, and same with Kyle Busch with Hornaday in 2011. Tyler Johnson brought that up. I think that's the thing that a lot of the media doesn't see from the fans is, like, we don't hate somebody because they're good. Like, we might hate them because they're good. It's like stop winning kind of deal, like Jimmie Johnson. But can you really say you hate Jimmie Johnson as a person? Because he doesn't go and bully people like that. And that's why people don't like Kyle Busch. That's why people don't like Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin and a lot of those guys. I mean, you don't see people going out being like, I hate Jimmie Johnson as a person. I hate Jeff Gordon as a person, or I hate Junior as a person. I hate Kenseth or Edwards. You don't see that and Edwards had moved past that. But I guess that's my little speech on it. There's a difference, and I don't think the media, especially people like ESPN and Sporting News and the Nick Brombergs, because I don't like Nick Bromberg. They don't see that as much. They don't understand the base.
I mean, I don't know if I agree to the full extent on Hamlin. I get what you're saying. Hamlin's kind of, especially we saw it a little bit last year with him and Chase Elliott. You kind of just, Hamlin took him a while to really come around and accept responsibility for it. He was very defensive at first. A lot of these big name drivers, and I think the key difference is Keselowski's, how old's Keselowski? 32, 33? He's early 30s. Yeah. I don't even know if he's that old. He might still be in his 20s for all I know. I'm not sure. But I think I mean, look it up. I think he's like 31, 32, but I don't know. I think it's a variant in age. I think Keselowski's still a little younger. I think drivers, when they're in their mid to late 30s, is when they're at their peak anger phase. I don't know. Like I feel like Tony Stewart was angry in his late 30s. I feel like Kevin Harvick was really angry in his late 30s. Hamlin's kind of in his late 30s now. I think he's kind of getting a little ornery because it's where your career, your prime of your career is over. But
Keselowski's 34.
34. Okay, I thought he was a little younger than that.
Let's see what Denny Hamlin is.
I think Hamlin's 37 or 38, but I'm not certain.
Denny Hamlin is 37. He'll be 38 in November.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me and Hamlin have the same birthday. I forgot about that. But yeah. Anyway. I think it also there's a difference. I mean, Brad Keselowski owned a Truck Series team. That just kind of helps go to show you how much he cares about the sport. And I would say Keselowski is on the similar level, at least personality-wise, I'd say, to Tony Stewart, where he's obviously kind of, he rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but he's also kind of got a no-nonsense attitude, but he also really cares about racing in general. He's willing to help other drivers, willing to coach other drivers, willing to help go out and promote the sport in different ways. I think I'd compare Keselowski to Tony Stewart. I would say one of the things as a Matt Kenseth fan or a Carl Edwards fan is that's something they never really did. I think Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, I think Carl Edwards was popular because of his success, because of his backflips, because of that. Matt Kenseth was popular because of his success, because of his, he didn't really say stupid stuff very often. But neither of them, or you could throw Hamlin into the mix. You can throw a lot of drivers into this mix, even Harvick now. They've kind of just been in it for themselves. They've been in it for their careers. They've like, I'll come out, I'll do what I got to do, but I'm not going to sit here and like go race dirt cars during the middle of the week. I'm not going to go do that. They're going to focus on, what they have to do, their family and everything. And that's fine. They're going to be nice to fans for the most part. They're going to be nice to each other for the most part, but they're not going to feel quite as genuine, quite as authentic, quite as, they're not going to have that. I don't know the right word. They're not going to be able, they're just not going to have that special trait that Stewart and Keselowski have that makes them kind of real, ambassadors of the sport across different levels and whatnot. And I think, I don't know. I don't agree with Hamlin being, I never thought Hamlin was that bad. I think
that's me being biased. I think probably
maybe I think Kyle Busch is worse in my opinion, but Kyle Busch also has Kyle Busch Motorsports. So see, Kyle Busch is weird. He's skirting this line where he's kind of a jerk to young drivers, but he's also helpful to young drivers. Although he did have a quote last year saying where he was threatening to close his truck team if it meant that it was going to keep creating young drivers that were going to take over his cup ride in a few years. He did have a quote. I was kind of joking, but I was like, I think he kind of means it because,
Well, as a smartass myself, I do respect how much of a smartass he can be. So
yeah,
so I'm pretty sure there's at least one person that watches our stream that's like, man, the Iceberg is such a like how does anyone like him?
I'm sure it's like that for me too. So
everyone has one, but I feel like I feel like all of us have at least one hate watcher a week.
Oh, I get a bunch of them. I had somebody comment on one of my videos today, and it's like, you're so biased. Chase Elliott's never winning a race in his career. Like, okay, first of all, that's a stupid thing to say, but
that's just a wrong opinion or a very incorrect. Oh God, my brain just froze. It's a very poorly educated decision there.
I say bring on the haters sometimes. Sometimes they're just funny.
Tag Nation asks, do you guys like Jeff Gordon? I've grown to kind of like, I definitely respect him.
Jeff Gordon was honestly my first favorite driver. And then when Dale Jr. switched over to Hendrick, I started to really like and appreciate Dale Jr. more.
I like you. I respect Jeff Gordon, but I got to say for a few years, he was my least favorite driver. By now he's not, and by like last year, a couple of years ago, he was not. I would say he was middle tier, but there's a few years I did not like him. I mean, he had their run-ins in the late 2000s, so I had my reasons to not like him. But and then it kind of hit rock bottom when he wrecked Boyer in 2012 at Phoenix. That's when I was like, that kind of, in my opinion, that kind of affirmed like I knew I didn't like him, and then since then he built back up, and by the end I was like, all right, Jeff Gordon, I at least respect him. He's not a bad guy,
And I have to admit that fight he had with Brad Keselowski was.
I was on Jeff's side.
Yeah, that was I think from about 2013 to about mid 2015 was like for me the peak of when I still I respected a bit, but I still disliked Keselowski a lot. I don't as much anymore. Kind of like how in 2015, 2016. Everyone hates Logano. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Logano, but a lot of the stuff that he was involved in, to be completely honest, he had nothing to do, really did wrong.
Yeah, Logano was kind of bad, wrong place, wrong time. I didn't like Logano for a few weeks there, obviously, but then before that, I honestly kind of liked Logano. A lot of people, it was uncool to like Joey Logano, but I was like, I kind of like him. And then when that all happened, everyone piled on Joey, like, oh God, spoiled rich trash. I was like, well, okay, hold on now. I still kind of like Joey.
I remember even Jimmie Johnson and Dale Jr., even they were saying stuff about him. Like, damn, whose wife did he screw in the garage?
Yeah, God.
Jeez. But at the same, don't get me wrong. I cheered like hell at Martinsville when Kenseth took him out. Kenseth became my second favorite driver for about a year and a half there, because it's Kenseth, I think cut Junior off on race, and I was all mad as for a second. And my mom's like, "Hey, just remember, he did take Logano out." I'm like, "Good point." Well, they've been asking, and we've been not stalling, but veering off. We should probably give our picks for Bristol this week.
Oh yeah,
So,
I thought we'd already done that.
so in tradition, I'm going with Kevin Harvick. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going with Harvick. I'm going to go with what a lot of you guys in the chat have been going with, and what I think both of these guys, if not picking him, are definitely picking him as one of the top competitors. I'm going with Eric Jones.
It's a good pick. I would pick Eric Jones, but for the sake of, I feel like I pick Toyotas a lot. When I do, I feel like last season I picked Kyle Busch and Martin Truex a lot. I feel like this year I picked Kyle Busch once or twice. I feel like Kyle Busch is a very good pick. I think if you're looking for a dark horse pick, Eric Jones is the runaway favorite for that. He was great at Texas. He's been great at Bristol in his rookie season and his career. So he's a very good pick. I'm going with Kyle Larson, however, because Bristol's got a high line now, and Kyle Larson likes the high line. So, I think Kyle Larson's been decent at Bristol in the past. I think Larson, I felt like at Texas this last week, he was starting to he's had a very up and down season. He had a top 5 run going for him at Texas before he blew a tire. I'm going to go with Larson. I think he's an okay pick.
Yeah, see, for me, I'm debating on 2 drivers. Kyle Busch just got his first one a year at Texas. So obviously had some big momentum. Kyle Busch was my preseason pick to win Bristol. Obviously, he's been class of the field there for the last several years now. He's like Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip level when it comes to Bristol now, and so he's obviously a huge favorite. However, when I was at the night race, one driver who just really surprised me and really showed me that he knows how to run this track. And I was there when he won an Xfinity Series race with me as my fiance's first race. And I'm going to guess whenever they get to run this race, whether it's Sunday or Monday, I'm going to be like Iceberg and pick Eric Jones.
Wow, what are the odds? I'm the one person who does not pick Eric Jones. I have an Eric Jones hat behind me, and I'm not even picking Eric Jones. But all right. I like you guys' confidence.
And you even have a Team 20. No, Texas 20. Never mind. I thought I said Team 20 at first.
That's convenient. No, that's when I graduate.
I saw Lizalde in there. He put Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Yeah,
he does run pretty well there.
Yeah, I mean,
Kurt Busch.
Okay, when it comes to a dark horse for this one, for me, really, Eric Jones is a dark horse, really, because we still haven't seen him do a whole lot here yet. But yeah. I am picking him to win. But as far as an actual dark horse, not that he'll be in contention to win, but maybe Matt DiBenedetto. He come in 6th place here. What was it last year or 2 years ago?
He's a dark horse top 10 pick for sure.
Yeah.
You want to hear my dark horse that's way out there? Since he's been running a lot better this year, Michael McDowell. I think McDowell could I don't think he'll win, but I think he could manage to sneak in the top 10. I mean, Chris Buescher got a top 5 in that car. So
I'll throw Kasey Kahne's name out there as a dark horse. I mean, he came out of nowhere to win Indy.
And with the team he's at now, I think people have to adjust their view because, he is overrated, but at the same time, they have to adjust that view from him being what they think is a superstar to, let's be honest, he's just a scrub. Like, if you look where he's finishing and the team he's with and who he's running with, I don't know. AB68 agrees with me, so he's now one of my favorites in the comment section again. He was before, but he's even more now. You agree with me, so dilly.
The thing with Front Row Motorsports, they do have funding that somehow still stays there all the time, and I really think if they could just find a way to get a little bit better performance out of their cars, and maybe even a brand change wouldn't be a half bad idea for them to do in the future.
Kyle Newton, Kahne fan 41 put Kasey Kahne is not overrated. Listen, I don't know how you can really argue that because the way the media covers him.
He was overrated for sure, but only a little. Like I said, Kasey Kahne's a good driver.
Yeah, he is a good driver.
He never warranted, and I think he deserved the ride at Hendrick he had for a few years there. Honestly, I think the way his career's gone has been pretty accurate to what I think he's earned.
He earned it, and at the time, he was the perfect one for a retiring. Well, at that time, retiring Mark Martin. He retired a million times, but
Well, when they announced he was going to Hendrick, I'm like, yeah, he's going to be. I actually said, oh crap, because I didn't realize I didn't read that he was going to be in the 5 car. I saw Kahne to Hendrick, and I'm like, crap, is he going to take Junior's ride because he's doing so bad? And I'm like, because this guy is good. Oh, Tyler Johnson, I'll do this one. Wants me to do the Alex Jones voice for Dilly Dilly. Dilly Dilly.
We still haven't got 40 likes
breaking
yet.
news.
Breaking news. Dilly Dilly.
Okay, yeah, there are 47 people watching, 25 likes. What are you doing?
Lick
the like button.
Lick that like button.
And if
you're the globalists.
And if you're watching us and you're not even like subscribed or have an account with YouTube, what are you doing? Make that account, hit the subscribe button, and lick the like button so you can,
And then grind on my subscribe button.
I don't know if that one's gonna catch on as good as the lick the like button.
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear what one of the funny parts too is, like, of all 3 of us, let's look at it the way that it has the last few weeks. I'm definitely the most inappropriate, and yet, well, never mind, kid from Georgia. Damn. Well,
hey, we hit 40.
I was about to say, I was like, I've hit the most tame chat, and then it's like, kid from Georgia read my mind.
Yeah,
that's disturbing, buddy.
I don't even want to say it.
I gotta buy counseling now for the like button. Damn.
Yeah, we got 41 likes in here though. Nice job, everybody.
We will see you in court for that like button.
I'm so epic. That's how you say it. I'm so epic. 8 review. Put thoughts in the NFL season. Skull Vikings.
I don't watch very much football these days. I read, what was I watching? I was watching Colin Cowherd's show. He had the Texans at his 7th best team coming into the season. If we stay healthy, he's right.
I think
where was Minnesota at?
I don't remember. I think they're in the top 3 or 4. He had them high. I don't remember. This was 2 weeks ago.
I think the Titans are gonna have a really good season this year, and we just unveiled recently we got new uniforms for next year.
Yeah,
a lot of people hated them. I like them. I think everything makes sense. They've actually got something very unique on the shoulders where it's 2 tones of gray, and it comes to a point that makes the Titans sword. And also on the helmet, it has a stripe that comes up from the back into the middle. It also makes this tip of a sword. I'm saying it really weird. I'm gonna get some comments about that, I'm sure. But they changed the font of our numbers on it. They kept the colors of jersey similar, which is fine. I kind of liked the colors in a way that we had. So we still had our navy blue, our white, and our color rush light blue. I'm a big fan of all the uniforms, and then people hated the navy blue and gray face mask helmets. I like them. I think it actually looks really nice for us. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Titans do next year and liking those new uniforms.
So I'm so epic 8 review again. Picks on Super Bowl 53. I hate doing this to myself because I'm just lining myself up for disappointment. But I'm with Kirk Cousins. I think that. I mean, you don't have to. The Vikings have such a deep team with depth. You don't need to have a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers on the team. I mean, they went 13-3 with Kasey Kahne. Like that just show how good that roster is. And then they've improved the defense that was already historically good last year until the Eagles gutted them. So I'm picking the Vikings. I know, and if they do win, I will come on here and do a stream, and it will be one that everyone should watch because I'm pretty sure I'll say stuff that I would never say and whatnot. But yeah, I'm gonna line myself up for disappointment, but I believe this year.
It's gonna be Cleveland Browns versus the Rams.
Well, the Rams are good.
Are the
really good?
Browns good?
I'm not much of an NFC fan, so I don't really know if it was good or bad.
I mean, if the Browns get an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, an offense, a defense, and special teams, they can win a game this year.
Yeah, they can win a game.
Do a drunk stream? No.
Maybe in the future, if possibly if I reach 1,000 subscribers, I could possibly have a little bit to drink and see how that goes.
Yeah, I will. I'll join you on the stream, but I won't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do a drunk stream, but Eric just acts drunk.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm only 20 years old, so I don't know if I can, until Denny Hamlin's birthday at least, I won't be able to partake.
Yeah.
Or at least it would be a bad idea. I'll
17 years prior for me, or 17 days prior. Yeah, I'm not 4 years old, or 3. Let's see. So
I saw Dark Knight was asking a good question earlier. He was asking, do you guys see all 4 Stewart-Haas cars in the playoffs?
Yep.
It could be at this point, but I still not sure, but it could happen. Could happen.
Almirola is a big question mark. At the beginning of the year, didn't think Kurt Busch would make it. He was one of my bold picks, is that Kurt Busch misses out. But I'm obviously looking like very dumb right now. So
yeah, and I said that I thought that Kurt Busch would be retiring after this year. Well, I remember even saying something how it said that they intend on having him back next year. Maybe I'd be nice, but I'll still have to keep an eye on it because I think as far as this time last year, we still thought Kansas would be back. So,
Dark Knight. I just wanted to say that I did use I used all the questions from that video I released earlier in the week for my interview with Jesse Iwuji. I'm just gonna plug that now while we still have the big audience. So thank you for that, and then that should be up in a day or two. He was a really awesome guy. Like if you guys don't know who Jesse Iwuji is, he's a NASCAR K&N West Series driver. Really awesome dude. Really,
he's an active member of. He's an active member of the U.S. Navy.
Yep, lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. Full-time. I think he's gone full-time in ARCA this year. He's going to be helping run the the Stars and Stripes weekend at Chicagoland. Like, this guy is awesome. I'll have the interview I did with him earlier today. It'll be up either tomorrow night or Friday night. But, I just want to say to Dark Knight and to the other two that put questions, thank you. It was he's a really interesting guy, and he's a really inspirational person. So I want two things. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up, follow him on all his social media stuff. He's a good guy. And then watch the interview because it's not the longest one ever, but it's pretty fun, and it shows what a good guy he is, both on the track and off.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's see. In 2020, they should add a 3rd super speedway. No, 4 races is enough.
They'd have to build a new one.
I like plate racing, and I still think that that they shouldn't have another one. Oh, Tyler Johnson has my exact thought on Monster Energy re-signing. This is actually my first thought. 1-year extension equals 1 more year of me girls or Monster Energy girls. Either way, it's funny. Either way, yeah. I was like,
I read it as him saying, 1 more year of me girls.
Oh yeah.
No comma.
One more year of meme girls.
Well, when they walked by the site, it was like, because there's a lot, just think of it as a pretty rational perspective. There's more guys on the infield than girls, especially older guys, and you just see all these people like this. Damn. Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to see them around more. I mean, Monster around more.
As long as they've got it, they might as well act like they care about it.
Yeah. Strut what you got. I'd like to see them take Mike Helton's place. I'd like to see how that would end out. See, because like I think I take the average age of an infield down by at least 3 years in a NASCAR race, especially at Chicagoland. So anyway,
might be a plan. They go from promoting young drivers to promoting
young fans.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, promote us if you want to promote young fans.
Yeah, that'd be completely fine by me. Well, actually, so we have our infield spot is, by the way, we're done with all the preview stuff and picks. We got everything done. So we're just basically answering questions now. This is my horrible choppy transition.
This is the point where it's 11:19 p.m. on my time, and and I'm sitting here. Basically, I'm making cartoons is what I'm doing, and y'all will just find out in my next video.
You sent us that, but our spot that we go in Chicagoland is in the infield, and you can see it on TV, and it's the first row across the street, second row, closest camper to the driver's lot, and that's us. So we're thinking about putting these like signs on it, right? And the one we were thinking is, "Hey, Junior, we have bananas and mayo. Come on down." Then I'm thinking of another one. Should I just put another one next to it with like all of our YouTube names, so that if the overhead view gets us,
make big like heads of us that people carry at like college basketball games. Just big faces.
Pass them out to people.
Or we could be like the Lombard Bros, and apparently they are coming back on to sponsor more races for that one driver.
Really?
Josie Lizalde says Iceberg will marry a Monster Energy girl. One can only hope.
No.
No.
I doubt it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be so negative. You can accomplish anything if you set your mind to it.
It's like Key and Peele. You can do anything. You literally can fly. He means figuratively, kids. No, kids, go on your roofs and literally jump off and fly. And then it cuts to him. Mm-hmm. I want to apologize to the 7 families who lost kids. I apparently used the word literally wrong.
It is weird that Matt Kent's disqualified for the All-Star race. I mean, he's got to be on there. Someone whip out. If I had a few $1 million or however much it would cost, I'd give him a car.
You remember that one car? This is kind of off topic, but I would like this to be a sponsor. The old butt paste car.
I know. I don't remember that one.
there was a car.
I do, but Woodrow's butt paste. It was like Tommy Baldwin Racing or something like that.
Can you imagine if that was like if the butt paste was like an associate on the side to like the Extends car? Awkward silence is awkward.
Anyways, I was saying about the Lombard Bros. They are going to sponsor Ryan Sieg for 4 more races this season, starting this weekend at Bristol.
I mean, how many subscribers do they got? How do they?
Lombard Brothers Gaming has not even 2,000 subscribers. Into SC4R has like maybe 40,000. So I mean that's still less than you, Eric. And obviously, I'm not going to ask you how much you make, but you know how much you make.
They're at almost 50K.
I technically can't even afford the rent I'm paying for this apartment. So.
Yeah, they're at almost 50K right now. They're at 49,833.
So how he's doing it, I don't know. Good for him, but I just hope this doesn't end up being one of those things where we're reading down the road about some kind of loss about missed payment or something like that. I really hope that's not the case. But I'm getting bored. I'm getting almost kind of like intrigued yet worried. But I don't know.
It's inspiring. I just feel like I could do this. I could put my name on a car.
I just won a Jimmy Spencer Straight Jacket Award. And then someone also asked Monster Energy girls or Hooters girls.
Yeah. It depends on where the Hooters is. See, I've been to a Hooters in Houston. Some of them are all right. I've been to a Hooters in Atlanta. It's a little different, but it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna say what I thought I was gonna say.
Yeah,
What's with the 3 dots? Gavin eats bacon.
We should start a Kickstarter campaign to get to help this podcast or us collectively sponsor a car like they have. I wonder what kind of interest we would get, because we could have people who back the Kickstarter, like their names could be on the car as well, and kind of like the way we see like paint, like charity paint schemes do. I wonder what people would be into that. This is an on-air production meeting we're doing right here, but that's an idea.
Jojo Salt. Damn, Daniel.
Was that Alex Jones as a meme?
Someone Jojo Salt put that. Do you remember the damn Daniel meme?
No, but I thought because he put it in all caps. I thought you were doing it as Alex Jones.
No.
But believe me,
damn,
I know
Daniel.
Believe me, I know that meme. I'm not really Danny. My name is Daniel, by the way. But gosh, I heard that way too many times.
Damn, Daniel, back at that cynical memeing.
Crying
Sorry.
towel word. I'm not crying. Do I
See,
look like I'm crying?
you know what we should do the
mean,
next off weekend instead of having a horrible shit stream where we let everyone on and then it goes crazy? We should have a roast stream where the chat just roasts us.
Well, we can do that next week. I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like that could somehow be every week in a way, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I think if we just let them have a week to just sort of boil over it.
Okay, Tag Nation says Magnum 05, which I think is the other Lombard brother, has 5,000 subs. Joseph Lombard into Scar has 49,000. And then, of course, Lombard Brothers has like almost 2,000. So I don't really know how they're doing it, but that's hey, they did it.
AB68 Iceberg promised I could come on sometime. Sometime. I don't know. I don't saw anybody again. Sometime.
I'm so Epic 8 review. Who watched WrestleMania 34? Of course I did. I got the Braun Strowman shirt on. Oh my gosh, it was the funniest thing in the world. Like they've done a lot of funny things in wrestling before, but they had Braun Strowman win the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships with a 10-year-old child that he pulled out of the crowd. He literally walked into the crowd. Obviously, I think the kid was like a son of one of the referees, but he pulls out this 10-year-old child named Nicholas. He tells Nicholas to stand here and just stay there. And then he goes out and single-handedly wins the match. Okay, Gavin Bacon, of course I know WWE is fake. It's still fun to watch, though. Don't be throwing that out there. It's as good. I say it like this. If you watch The Walking Dead, that's fake, too, but you still enjoy it. That doesn't matter, really. But either way, just
bangs. Stuff and bangs.
But moments like that where they do ridiculous stuff, like having Braun Strowman win tag team championships with a child, is just hilarious, and that is why I'm so drawn to it. And this week's video that I'm working on will be about WrestleMania 34, so y'all make sure you come watch that when it goes up.
So I actually have sort of another idea on the roast stream. What if it starts off where we roast different drivers, and then after about a half hour, let the chat roast us?
We should invite the drivers on to defend themselves.
Where's the fun in that? No. Okay. Since we're showing shirts, I have to show this one by order of the Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders is awesome. Watch it. It's on Netflix. There's only 24 episodes. Just know that once you get through it, there's not going to be another episode until 2019, late 2019. Yeah. It's about British gangsters in like the 19-teens and the 1920s. It's awesome. It's got Cillian Murphy. It's got Tom Hardy. It had Adrian Brody in a season. Sam Neill. The chick that played Malfoy's mom in Harry Potter. She's an awesome actress. But yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, please watch it. It's awesome. But by order of the Peaky Blinders.
I saw someone ask, how do you get people to join your live videos? Well, this wasn't necessarily something that it isn't something like Iceberg set up a live video and we joined them. It's actually being done through Google Hangouts on air. You can set up a live stream to use Google Hangouts. So, and I encourage other people to do this. It's a lot of fun. Just get some random other YouTubers to collab with and do something like this. And honestly, in just the last month, I went from being a fan of Eric here to consider someone like a weekly friend I get to talk to. So
same. And really quick in the chat, Alaskan Yankee said, "Get Kamikaze and the Dylans." Just open out to all of it. I am willing to have both of them or all three of them or whoever wants to go on my channel. I'll be a moderator. I won't even add my 2 cents in it. I will be a moderator. Just putting that out there for anyone who sees it or wants to say something.
If they want to come, if you guys contact Ty Dillon, Kamikaze, Austin Dillon, all of them, tell them, point them to my channel because we'll be on my channel next week, and they can decide if they want to come on. I'm sure Kamikaze will see my videos, but the other guys.
I'm
open to anything.
Hey, I'm the wrestling fan. I'm open to finding a way to get them in a wrestling ring and just go at it.
Shoot, live stream that.
I saw that Black Flags Matter. He made a Clint Boyer video about him like breaking the curse, and it was like, I won't say it was a ripoff. It was heavily, heavily influenced and by a urinating tree. And I saw the comment Kamikaze put. He was a good sport about it because the Black Flags Matter is like, I don't see how anyone could be upset about this. And it shows Kamikaze Games like freaking out. It's like, well, maybe not. And Kamikaze left underneath. He goes, I guess I'm your EDP. And in Urinating Trees video about the Eagles, he made it ripping on this fan called EDP for the Eagles. I won't say what it means because I think like my family might be watching and I don't, there's only so much I can say before it gets a little awkward. But he basically flips out about the Eagles even when they're winning. And that's like Kamikaze Games about like, oh yeah, Truex got a top 10, but fucking Boyer won.
God, like, he was frustrating me. I watched his video about the Texas race this week, and he, God, just went all in against. Just talked about how it was the worst race he'd ever seen.
How is it that the guy who's a Truex fan, Truex has won 9 races in the last year and a half.
Truex fan? That's
yep, he's a Truex fan. Truex has won the championship, all this stuff. Meanwhile, all 3 of our drivers have retired, and to be quite honest, had pretty bad seasons for their standards last year.
Yeah.
And we're more positive and more, like, I won't say more into it, but we're more positive this year.
I guess it's because I guess it's because we have nothing to lose at this point, so we have everything to gain, so we're just always positive.
Another one, get real Radman. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'd be willing to have real Radman on.
See, if we were to have all these people on, I'd want to space them out. I don't want them all on at the same time.
Yeah, not the same time.
We kind of ran into that issue last week. No offense to the ones we had, but it got a little too crowded.
Yeah, and I guarantee that we're going to be put on some compilation of worst live stream like ideas ever.
One of these days.
Yeah,
I've decided
there will be,
and that's going to be on there.
There will be some big YouTuber who does these interesting videos. It's like here are the top 10 worst live stream genres out there. Number 1, DannyBTalks and the Iceberg and DoubleEdud talk about NASCAR.
I was just thinking, crap. One day we're going to be in a horrible Matthew Santoro video. Ugh. Let's see.
It was funny though.
Kid from Georgia. Kamikaze is extremely biased. No shit.
Well, people comment all the time in my videos. You're so biased towards Chevys. Yeah, I'm a Chevy fan, but I still understand who's the better drivers out there. My pick for the championship in my predictions was Kevin Harvick. I ain't the biggest Kevin Harvick fan, but I still said it.
Let's see. Lizalde put EDP was the same way for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, but Eagles fans are just terrible people in general. Like in general, when you see Eagles fans, you think trash. Like if you look at any of the articles coming out of the championship game with the Eagles and Vikings and how they treated Vikings fans, and I will be biased on this, I don't care. They treated Vikings fans like crap. They sent a dude to the hospital. He didn't even get into the stadium. They basically like punched him down and ended up breaking his leg. It's like Eagles fans have been known to be horrible. I'm just glad that it finally got put out and into the open. And then like it was funny because on Twitter they do like the if the Twitter does their moments and they put it up and they had one at the Eagles Super Bowl. Well, scroll to the bottom of it and it's and it shows the one the Vikings made. And it was a contest they were holding since the Eagles were in town that weekend. Who could be the most Minnesota nice? That's the greatest PR move they could have done. Because then that started trending above the Eagles. Like, that's the perfect PR move. Hey, look they literally beat us horribly on the field. They treated our fans like crap, and we're still treating them good. Like, who's going to come out as the good guys at the end of it?
Yep.
And, I mean, who couldn't like me? Let's see.
Invite David Land to the stream. David Land versus me about Daytona. I don't remember. What did David Land say about that's right. He didn't like Daytona. I forget why.
Thing is, all these people saying invite all these people, I don't even think they probably don't even know who I am, so it'd be hard to even get them on here.
David Land. Well, David Lane didn't like Daytona. What was not to like about Daytona, though? This year's Daytona 500 was excellent. I made videos.
Maybe it was the long green run when they were single file, but for me, that was just getting ready for the storm. That was a calm before the storm.
I feel like I think I watched David Land's video about this or somebody's video. They talked about that they didn't like it because they didn't like all the wrecks. They thought the wrecks were bad. And I thought see, AB68 says, yeah, they're saying crashes. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think there were that many crashes for a plate race.
Have you ever seen a plate race before? I don't think there's been. I can probably count on my hand how many plate races. And let's see, I've watched since 2005. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 13 times 2 is 26. I've watched 27. Let's see, 27 plus another 26. So I've watched close to 50 plate races since I've started watching NASCAR. Just Cup alone, not even Xfinity. I could probably only count on one hand how many have not been crash fests.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of expected. I thought the package was great. Eminem
Yeah.
Cup Series asked if we've ever raged during a race, and if so, which one? I know for me, the only time I can really remember getting really mad, and I wasn't mad at anybody, I was just mad, and I had to let it out. I had to go blow off some steam, was 2016 Fall Phoenix when Kenseth got wrecked, lead on the final restart. I had to leave my dorm. I walked a half a mile to Kane's Chicken Finger, and I just that's how I blew off my steam, was eating chicken.
I love Kane's chicken, by the way.
Yeah, it's good. It turned my mood around.
Let's see. There's been a few for me. I've got to think. You go ahead, Danny. I've got to think.
Not to change the subject or anything, but someone said David Land, or at least Rusty, which I assume he's talking about Rusty Walrus because he looks the part. So Rusty Walrus, I see you in the chat. They're requesting you back. We might have to have you back on sometime.
Yeah.
You fight David Land for me.
Let's see. I know I raged out in 2006 about when Vickers crashed Johnson and Junior. Again, eight-year-old me was not very happy. Not a happy camper.
Well, I mean, how could you be at that age? So
let's see. 2013, I was at Michigan again the year after Junior won because I'd been there the year before, and Junior's car sounded so clean that race. Like when there's like that dominant car and you just like really good, and then the rest of them are like they're a lot lower. Like his car just sounded beautiful. I mean, it was like
a symphony.
It pretty much, yeah. And then he came around. I hear. I'm like, and thank God my parents couldn't hear me at the time because 2013 I would have been like 15 or 16. I just went, fuck, just right under my, just right out there. I'm sitting there. My parents both, I guess, looked at me because of Junior doing bad.
Like you ain't old enough to say that.
No, they didn't hear it because the cars were going by, right? But
okay.
I had said it, and he was down like a cylinder for probably 20 laps, and he still was putting out laps that were just as good as the second place car. It was like incredible how good he was that day. He would have never go say honestly again. He would have said he would have won 2 in a row had that not happened. So I was pretty mad about that. I think I threw a water bottle at one of the pillar things under the stands, and then God, there's got to be.
I was upset at the end of the 2016 Daytona 500. Again, it was Matt getting hosed out of the lead on the last lap. He didn't get to be a part of that awesome photo finish. Although thanks to him screwing himself over, we had that awesome photo finish.
Yeah.
I blame he had a fill-in spotter that weekend. I'm blaming the spotter for that one.
2015 Talladega. That one, I think I had the most rage. I raged out so bad that I started being like, it was like how I was watching the Vikings this year in the championship game. I got so angry that I just started laughing. How stupid that finish was with Harvick intentionally wrecking the field.
Oh, that's
where I lost all respect for Kevin Harvick.
That hurt a lot of me. That's just add that to the list of why Harvick's never been on my good side.
And add that to the list of why people hated Logano at that time. Because again, he did nothing wrong in that race, but he won over Junior at Talladega. So he did something wrong in that race. And to be completely fair, I still think Junior was ahead because they kept changing when the lights went on. Like at one angle, Junior was ahead when the lights came on. Then at another angle, Logano was ahead. It's like, pick a damn angle and stick with it, And so I was pretty mad with that one. And then when Junior ran out of gas at Charlotte for the 600, I actually fell to my knees and just sat there. Like if anyone watches The Walking Dead, that moment that Abraham falls to his knees, that was me. And I sat there for probably a half hour after the race broadcast ended, just sitting there. I wasn't even like close to tears, sad or anything. It was just bummer.
Jacob asked in the chat if you've ever raged so hard that you cried. Would you say that counts as you cried?
No, 2006 when I was 8, I cried after Talladega because Junior was gonna win. You know, he had the dominant car all day. He came back from a lap down with like 40 to go. I cried on the way home after that.
I don't think I've ever cried out of anger or sadness in a race. The only time I cried was when Matt won Phoenix. That was emotional, but that's really it.
I cried when I was at Michigan when Junior won. I bawled like a little baby. And then I cried in 2009 when the Vikings lost the championship game in overtime.
I cried in 2009 when the Titans lost to the Ravens in the first like playoff game. Like they were the best team all regular season. They went 13-3, had the best record, but then when the playoffs get here, they just lose right off the bat to the Ravens, and we beat them during the regular season. I'm like, how? We had home field advantage, and we beat them in Baltimore during the season.
I also did when the Cubs won the World Series, so
that's fair.
I probably have about as many like happy tear moments as sad ones in sports. But speaking of happy tears, if you want to see an awesome reaction to Junior's 500 win in 2014, there's one of this kid. He can't be older than 6 or 7, and he just starts crying, and you hear his little sister, who's probably like 3 or 4. Why is he crying? Then he turns around. It's happy tears. I'm like, kid, you got me. You got like, let's have that kid on. I want to see what that kid has to say about that, because he was internally.
That kid is probably like 10 now. So
probably, yeah. But I remember that was the video. My grandpa sent me the link to that. He's like, you got to watch this. This is amazing. Yeah, there's actually like compilation videos of Junior's reaction to Junior winning the 500.
I really think it'd be nice to sometime like get to the point where I don't even know if people would be interested in it, but maybe doing like race reaction videos or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know, because isn't there like that group of YouTubers that used to do it, and it got cringy, man. Like those things can go cringe so fast.
Yeah, true.
Meanwhile, we just went 10 minutes talking about when we cried the most at a race.
Yeah. So here's the time I cried over.
So here's the time I cried when I stubbed my toe.
I remember being like 12 and getting really upset when the Spurs beat the Rockets in some meaningless middle of the season, regular season game. But I don't remember why. I was so mad we lost that game. I remember not being able to sleep. I was so mad about that game.
I remember
a long time ago.
Speaking of NBA, I used to be really into it about 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And when Derrick Rose got hurt, because I was I'm a huge Bulls, well, not huge, but I'm a Bulls fan, but I was huge back then. Like I had Derrick Rose jersey. I had Derrick Rose college poster, and I had his cards and all that stuff. And when he got hurt, and it was like, it was bad. Like you could just tell by his face, I was crushed. I just sat there. I didn't know what to do, and because he was out there with less than a minute left, and they were up by 20 over the 76ers. And they'd been the best team all year. They'd made LeBron and the Heat their bitch. I mean, they were just that good. Like it was their year to win. And once Rose went down, the whole team fell apart. And then really, honestly, after that, that's really how I fell away from watching basketball. I haven't been able to watch it since, really. That and being injured in basketball, that didn't help very much either.
Yeah.
We could do a reaction to worst injuries, but that would be more of a oh god.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to look at that.
Yeah, never watched Joe Theismann's injury. That's horrible.
I've seen some nasty NBA ones, with broken
Kevin
legs,
Ware.
things like that.
Remember I watched that live.
Paul George, Gordon Hayward. Wow.
My worst injury ever was in basketball. Basketball is probably, honestly, when it comes to just the amount of injuries, is the most dangerous sport in that degree. When it comes to legs and arms,
I think it's you're not as likely to get injured, but if you do get injured, it's likely going to be pretty serious.
yeah, it has the most serious ones. Kyle Newton Kane fan. Ever seen Nostalgia Critic? I used to be a huge fan of his, and he's someone I sort of just grew out of.
I've never watched him. I mean, I've heard of him. I've probably seen him at some point, but I don't know.
I mean, I'll go back and watch one of his every now and then, but sometimes you get like, especially since 2016, he gets political about stuff, and the last thing I want to see when it's a comedy thing about reviewing a movie from like 1978 is what he has to say about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So
yeah, unless you're a political YouTube channel, and that's why I'm going to you. I don't think that it should really have its place in it. Like, I'm going to keep my political views out of it because that's my business alone. I'm just not something I'm here to discuss. I will talk about NASCAR and, well, really my channel is technically called DannyBTalks, so I can talk about whatever. Yes, I'm pizza. But my channel is called DannyBTalks. I can technically talk about whatever I want to, but that's not something that I'm choosing to discuss.
See, my channel description is basically anything I want to put up. So like I guess I give myself the freedom to put up anything I want to put up. And don't get me wrong, I'd be cool. Like say I'm a big fan of Romy Millennial. And if I could manage to get her on my channel, I would do it in a heartbeat just because I'm such a fan of her work. But I would also give my core NASCAR guys and fans a big heads up. Like, listen, this person's going to be on there. We're just going to be talking about whatever. Don't take stuff too personal. But yeah, it's like nobody would come to hear what I have to think about the new trade agreement or something, or about the newest stuff in the Supreme Court with Mark Zuckerberg. No one comes to us about that.
I do like all the photos and memes from it.
Oh yeah, he like talking about the memes of it is different. He looks like Data.
Looking dude.
He looks like Data from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and there's one where it's like shows him and he's like, yes, we have advertisers, and there's a thing on the bottom like a volume tab, except it says smile. And the person puts it all the way up and you see.
I think it was hilarious how they was asking him about so is it true that a lot of these conservative pages have just been taken down, even though they really did nothing to warrant it? And he's like I'm not quite sure about that, but
oh, okay. I do want to ask this and put in the chat. Hey, Real Radman's here.
Really?
Yeah, he likes my fish tank. They're full of bluegill.
Real Radman, I am very much surprised.
So that's a real fish tank back there. I never actually confirmed.
Yeah, it is. It's got 3 bluegill and then 1 unconfirmed species that I have no idea what it is.
My Alexa keeps trying to talk to us.
Well, hey, Real Radman, now that you're here, maybe you can tweet at one of us. We've had a lot of people requesting you maybe join us sometime in one of these streams. So maybe think about that in the future.
Alexa, who's your favorite driver?
I'm glad you asked. It's all about Kyle Larson.
Just making sure she's consistent. She's been saying Larson for over a year now. I just want to make sure she doesn't hop off the bandwagon.
See, I won't say who it is, but someone I know has an Alexa. They just call it dumb bitch the whole time. Hey, dumb bitch. What's the weather today, dumb bitch?
Yeah, I'm not very creative.
Oh gosh, I cannot remember what it was, but there was a video where this kid was trying to get the Alexa to play like some kind of kid's YouTube video or something like that, and then it started to pull up like some porn or something like that.
I've seen that. Yeah, that was funny. That was a while ago.
Was it How to Make a Kid?
No, it was graphic. Like the Alexa started reading off the title of whatever it was, and it got really graphic. And it was like, whoa, hold on now.
Yeah, I cannot remember what it was, but it was like something so innocent. The kid wanted Alexa to play like a song or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't even want to say what Alexa was saying.
Yeah, it was classic. That's a good one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like when people like change their names and it's like really messed up stuff. See, it can't be any more graphic than hearing about like the worst videos on the internet ever. Like if it's is it more graphic than Two Girls, One Cup?
Oh no, not that video.
Okay, or One Man, One Jar.
I mean, it doesn't show anything. It just really shows. It's just the thing starting to say some really bad stuff to a kid, and the parents are freaking out. That's really all it is.
Someone turn that thing off.
Beat it. Yeah, there's still people wanting Real Radman on. Well, we'll be on Eric's channel next week, so
yeah, we're happy to have it. Happy to have you. Happy to have anyone.
I'd
like to get more guests on the show, you know?
If he's even still watching, he might have just looked at us and like, these two are weird. Bye.
Yeah. It's like, who are these leeches? As Kamikaze would say.
Maybe he didn't really like your fish tank. He was just trying to be polite.
Yeah, I still gotta get the algae out of it. So
meanwhile, here in like the next little bit, we're gonna get like a Twitter message from each of us saying, "Hey, you guys, I was still watching."
Stop talking about me when I'm not watching.
Hey, let's start some YouTube drama.
Let's see, Tyler. Yeah. Tyler Johnson. Yo, Iceberg. Walking Dead season finale thoughts. If they follow the book, it'll be really good. So hopefully Gimple didn't screw it up.
Tag Nation really wants me to fight David Land about Daytona. I will. I'm cracking my knuckles. I'm ready for him.
Real Radman responded, "Nah, I like it. I promise."
Oh, good.
Nice. You got a good style.
And Clint Boyer is back and better than ever. So we're really,
gosh.
we're closing in on 3 hours. This is when
we probably should. We probably should wrap it up.
What is with us? We have went from having maybe hour-long streams to 1.5 to 2 to now 3 hours. What is wrong with us?
And I rip on like different channels I like. I'm like, I don't want to. No one wants to go and watch a 3.5-hour stream. Meanwhile, we're doing almost 3-hour streams.
There's still 40 people watching. So hey,
yay! YouTube drama is fun. Let's call out Keemstar.
Nah, he cares what we have to say.
No, yeah. Okay, let's call out Grade A Under A. We'll see if we can bring him back from the dead.
Let's call out the big man himself, PewDiePie.
Yeah.
Let's call out Jack from Twitter. Hopefully I don't get kicked off for saying
that. Yeah, if you get Fortnite Kyle Newton Kane fan, I will come for you.
Actually, okay, this will be funny just because it's not like it's sort of politics, but it's just funny because I got it. So like I got an email from Twitter saying that I have liked or retweeted Russian propaganda, and I'm like, when? I was like, I don't recall this. I'm like, if you want to kick me off, just tell me. I'm cool with it. You know, we can just have a little split. You know, take some time apart from each other. We're on a break.
West says call out Brian France. Oh, and Armani, I saw that. Yeah, no, I don't think he'll be at the IndyCar Texas race.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna call out Brian France. Brian France, I love you and I want free tickets.
Brian France,
what a sellout! What a sellout!
All right, I have to be the other end of the spectrum. Brian France, don't be an alcoholic and stop snorting cocaine.
Wait, I thought Mike Helton was the alcoholic. Oh shoot, I've gotten distracted.
I think everybody in NASCAR probably has to drink a little bit to deal with the pain that they face.
TV ratings come up. All right, where are those Tide Pods those kids are eating?
Mm-hmm. Real Radman says he can come on for 30 minutes to an hour sometime. So yeah, we should try to hook that up. We'll keep in touch on Twitter.
Real Radman, I'm just saying, you'll say that and then you'll get drawn in. It'll happen.
Tyler Johnson, you know it's Szechuan sauce. You know it. We should probably actually wrap it up here.
Yeah.
I got a text from my mom. Like when your stream ever ends, there's pizza waiting for you.
It better not be Little Caesars. That's all.
Oh, trust me. If it's my family, it's not Little Caesars.
It's appropriate that this stream would end with pizza.
I actually am gonna go find like the biggest, greasiest piece of pizza online and make that the thumbnail.
Do that. I like it. It'll attract all of the fans.
Yes.
All of the viewers.
All right. So you guys want to do your final statements, and then I'll just do my little.
Yeah. The way you make it sound is I feel like I'm supposed to give like a State of the Union address. Here are my final closing remarks. Let me just shuffle my papers here. Yeah, so I'm thank you guys for joining. For some of you've been here for basically the entire 3 hours, and that is mind blowing. But we appreciate the support. Yeah, we'll be back next week on my channel, I believe. So subscribe. I'll be uploading more videos tomorrow. I might have a little teaser in the works for tomorrow. So those of you longtime supporters of my channel, keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it's been really fun hanging out, guys. Hopefully we can do something great next week. I'm looking forward to the race at Bristol. Yep, I'm in the middle of my closing remarks. You don't have to do everything Tyler says. We're giving these people too much power. But yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys next week, and I hope Bristol's fun or I hope they get to race Bristol, hopefully on Sunday, or at the very least, hopefully Monday. Hopefully we're not doing another like early Tuesday morning or something. But I'm excited for the race this weekend. I always like Bristol, and I hope it's good. So thanks for watching, guys. Been fun.
And I am Danny from DannyBTalks. I am currently in the process of working on my video. Hopefully get it out this weekend. I am going up to Bristol Motor Speedway tomorrow. I get to drive for 5 laps in my Ford Ranger pickup truck. Looking forward to that. I am going to the race this Sunday. Don't know if we'll get to run it, but I'm going. We do have a place to stay up there. We got some family who lives basically where you can see the track, so that's good. So even if it's raining, we can basically just stay there the whole day and maybe see if we can come back on Monday if they have to run it in. As always, I'm DannyBTalks. You can subscribe to me on YouTube. And with this lottery ticket, I am probably now very rich. So let's see what my numbers are. I had 5, 12, 15, 27, 45, and 13. The winning numbers are 16, 18, 27, 55, 67, 18. Oh, no, I'm still poor.
What a positive way to end it out. Yeah. And with that, I'm the Iceberg. Please subscribe to me. Lick that like button. Also, you can find me on Twitter at IceTitan80. Go at your own peril. And then on gab.ai at Iceberg. It's kind of funny because gab.ai is basically made for politics stuff, and all I put is stuff for this. And then Twitter is made for everything, and I just put political stuff and this. So go at your own peril. Later this week, either tomorrow night or Friday night, I'm going to release the interview I did with Jesse Awuji. He's an awesome guy. Please go follow him I think it's at Jesse Awuji on Twitter. His site, Jesse Awuji Racing. Again, great guy. It'll be up. Just show him your support. So with that, we'll be on Eric's channel next week. And everyone, stay safe and have a good one.